day 34 of the war in Iran, with big news, or at least somewhat a big announcement, I should say. Rather, Trump had a press conference, or rather had a speech, rather a message to the American people about the war in Iran. That is something we'll take a look at, as you might see from the title and from the thumbnail. My general position is nothing new was really said, which doesn't necessarily make it bad. It's more of an update for the people who haven't been obsessing over reading everything on Truth Social from Trump, just like we did, since we are live every day. So we'll take a look at that, but we'll also contrast it with the first speech he had on February 28th, when this war has started. It was an 8-minute speech at the start of this war, and this one was 20 minutes. So we'll try to take it, we'll try to contrast it. I haven't watched both of those in context, like together. So, I myself might be surprised by, maybe his messaging was consistent. Although I have certain doubts about that, but we'll take a look at it objectively. We'll take a look at it truthfully. Later on, or rather, this will be a little bit later on, about half an hour into a show, where we will also be joined by more people. Before that, we'll take a look at the news. We'll take a look at some other sort of short segments we have, and sort of big thing we'll try on today later in this live stream about probably basically the last segment, most likely after we finish the Trump stuff. We're gonna do a members only live stream. So the whole live stream will be available publicly as of right now, but the last segment, so I think maybe, I'm not sure how long it will be, probably 10-20 minutes, maybe half an hour, that will be YouTube members only. So only if you are a member you will be able to join it, or at least we'll try it. I still have to see how exactly it works. So welcome to the Daily Objective. My name is Daniel. I'll be starting you off, and let's take a look at the news. So one of the things I've seen that seemed interesting, that it was reported that Gulf states are looking for alternative pipelines to bypass the Strait of Hormuz, including the routes to Mediterranean via Haifa or Egypt, or as well as overland links through Iraq, Jordan, Syria, Turkey, or even possibly Oman. And also Iraq has begun exporting crude by tanker trucks through Syria to Mediterranean ports such as Banias. This is interesting because, well, one thing I would say that's interesting is that the considering is sort of starting now. I know there has been some talking, especially I think Saudi Arabia even might have rerouted some of them, since they can simply go through the Red Sea, right? That's the one, through the Red Sea. Although even there they might have a potential problem with the Houthis, unless they go through the north, through the Suez. So there has been one. It's interesting that they are considering now, because there, I think that might come from some of the Trump's messaging, specifically the fact that he said that this war might end without the opening of the Strait of Hormuz. Now my prediction is once the war ends, Iran will eventually open up the Strait of Hormuz. I don't think they have any real benefit from keeping it closed, unless they are at war, because again, being at war and closing the Strait of Hormuz is a good strategy, right? You're making energy more expensive all around the world. That is a huge bargaining chip you can use. But once you are not in a war, I'm not necessarily sure what use you would get out of it. So I expect it to open. Now again, we shouldn't end this war just because the Strait of Hormuz will open. We should continue this war until the threat in Iran is eliminated. I think that's the only justifiable, or that's the only condition that I would take when it comes to ending this war. Other news, I think there's been, IDF had confirmed more strikes on Iran, of course. Apparently the highest breach in, what was it, in Middle East? Yeah, the highest breach in Middle East has been struck by the IDF and has collapsed after being struck. So that's one of the world's first, I guess. As and what was there else? Oh, we had the oil chief in Iran has been eliminated by the IDF. That has been confirmed. I think I've read it on Ynet, if I remember correctly. Yeah, IDF kills Iran oil headquarters chief. So again, great to see. We should definitely target anything that brings us closer to eliminating the, or well, either brings us closer to eliminating the threat of Iran, or brings us closer to the collapse of the regime itself, which destroying their oil capabilities will definitely do so. Somebody says, why would they open it? They effectively have a toll booth and no one to challenge it. If you want a free passage, then cut a deal like Japan has done, benefits Iran. You must cooperate. Because it goes to both ways. Like, we can say that yes, Iran, that the other countries suffer from it, but also that also means Iran is not benefiting from selling the oil. I don't know how long they can sustain it. I think there will be a lot of internal pressure. They might still get some sort of a deal from other nations, just to get some token rewards. But I don't think they can get away with simply having it closed while not being at war. I think internal pressures will be a lot to will be a lot. Bonnie says, I can see letting it open by itself being an excuse to stop the conflict with RGC in control. Well, it's not a good excuse, right? Because it was never about the Strait of Hormuz. So yeah, I don't see why it would be so. Yeah, somebody said that oil is now unsanctioned by the US countries like Australia and EDO. Yeah, there has been some lifting of the sanctions, which again is terrible. We are at war with them. There should be absolutely no trading. Although again, sanctions are technically a little bit different. Because it's not like America is not really trading for oil or for gas through the Strait of Hormuz. America is, I mean, I just read about it, not exactly self-sufficient, because even though it technically, I think, is a net exporter of oil, the American oil is a little bit different, or sort of the facilities for what would you say? What do you do with oil? Wait, what do you do with crude oil? What is that? Refine, right? Refineries. I think American refineries are set up a little bit different. I think they are set up mainly for light oil and not heavy oil. So I think that's some of the differences, at least, that I've read. So like America is still exporting oil, just not from the Strait of Hormuz. Or the oil that goes through the Strait of Hormuz, I should be precise. All right, with that, that's mostly the news. Now, of course, as always, and this should be said, Iran is bombing Israel. That is something that has to be said every day, because it's happening every day. Just before the show, we will be, or should be joined, I should say, by Eyal Reichel at some point. And I was actually asking him before the show, does he have a plan for when he plans to join, just so I can build segments around it based on how people are joining. And he said, well, there are missiles headed towards Israel right now, so I cannot really plan for that. And of course, I hope he stays safe, and that is understandable. But yeah, missiles are still coming to Israel, and so Iran is still a threat to Israel as long as those missiles are coming. And to the Western world in general, right? If they are willing to attack Israel, they are willing to attack America. They are willing to attack other Gulf states. They will be willing to attack Europe if that's what it takes. Okay. Well, let's take a look at this. Something I've sort of missed in the last few days, although I have been following it in my private, is sort of the NATO talks that are going on, specifically from Trump. So let's take a look at this one.
We don't need help. You know, that war has been long prosecuted as far as I'm concerned, almost from day one. We knocked out many of these things. We knocked out the Navy essentially in a couple of days. But I was surprised to see that NATO, while they agree that it was a very important thing to do, they agree fully. Nobody said, oh, you shouldn't do it. They would have had a nuclear weapon within 1 month of when we had the B-2 bombers bomb the nuclear potential. I call it the nuclear dust. So I think NATO's making a very foolish mistake. And I've long said that, you know, I wonder whether or not NATO would ever be there for us. So this was a great test, because we don't need them, but they should have been there. The Secretary General.
Well, it automatically started moving to the next one. So here Trump's talked about, you know, NATO, they're not being for it. And again, I'm wondering how exactly you want to take it, because so NATO primarily is a defensive alliance. Now I think America has absolutely been attacked by Iran, but I might talk a bit more positively about Trump a little bit later, but here I'll start with, I don't think he cares about any sort of processes, because again, in NATO, if a nation has been attacked, you can trigger Article 5. You can say, hey, I've been attacked, I want you guys to help me. But Trump's thing is sort of like they should be helping automatically, or they should be showing up automatically because something, right? Now, something that could have happened, Iran has attacked a UK military base in Cyprus, although well, there is a little bit of a difference, because technically you cannot trigger Article 5 over military base. Article 5 can only be triggered when like your territory, not your territory, but sort of your sovereign soil, I guess, has been attacked, which doesn't include foreign bases. I don't think it even includes embassies, which are technically the soil of the, not of the country they resigned in, but of the country that it's an embassy from. But those things don't work. Bonnie says, but they there for us after 9/11, they invoked Article 5. Yeah, and again, that wasn't America triggering Article 5. America didn't want to necessarily. It was other nation. I'm not sure which nation specifically, but it was some other nation, yeah, triggering Article 5. And then every nation tried to help America in some way. Even the nations that joined NATO after actually helped. I think, if I remember correctly, let me quickly look it up. But yeah, Slovakia joined NATO. Well, I think it was like, what was it together? I think it was, what is it? Slovakia, Romania, Slovenia, Baltic states, and maybe Bulgaria. I think all of these joined NATO at the same time. I can actually look it up specifically, because I'm wondering. Oh, maybe. Oh, let's see. Enlargement. Just because I'm specifically interested about this one. Oh yeah, so those countries, Romania, Bulgaria, Slovakia, Slovenia, and the Baltic states all joined in 2004, and all of them, I believe, helped America in some way during the War of Terror, or during the Iraq War, during the different kind of wars, because they were taking as part of the response to 9/11. Bonnie says, I thought you said Trump said NATO wasn't there for us, but they were. Well, I think he meant specifically right now. I think he specifically meant with the Iranian crisis, or with the war in Iran. Which again, I think, yeah, Europe is absolutely not responding. I mean, again, when it comes to the war with Iran, there is not even that much that they, I think, should be doing. for the most part, they just should openly support Trump's efforts with taking out the Iranian regime. I'm not even sure how much European, like Trump said, they didn't need Europe, and I think, yeah, I think this is the kind of operation where I think certain countries, I think France probably had a lot of, I think should have had a lot of need to actually join against the war with Iran, or a lot of benefit. Same with Britain, a lot of need of doing something about Iran. They decided not to do so, and I guess that goes the. I think that goes more towards sort of like Trump's whole idea about NATO, that it's basically not working. And I think that is a sort of question. Somebody in the chat says Article 5 also must be unanimously invoked. Why would Turkey ever decide to do this? Well, there might be rethinking about what countries do you want in NATO. I don't think the current Turkey should be part of NATO. I don't think, although again, maybe we'll see complete change when it comes to NATO, which is unfortunate, because I like the idea of allied forces. I like the idea of Western countries aligned together around some common enemy, be it originally the Soviet Union, or right now the axis of terror, specifically Iran, or sort of Russia again, right? Or maybe even China at some point. Although again, with China, I think China is a much bigger threat to America. It's a much bigger threat to sort of like I guess Eastern allies like Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan. It's a much bigger threat there than specifically Europe. I think Europe would easily even have friendly relationship with China, which I think is very unfortunate. So yeah, when it comes to generally the NATO, one big thing I would give to Trump is I don't know what you can even do. The fact is, the European countries, the Western countries, or I mean generally any sort of like Western aligned European states should want to do something about Russia. They should want to do something about Iran, and I think they even should want to do something about China. But they are refusing to recognize any threat coming from them. And they have been doing that. I mean, again, after 2014, European states were still trading with Russia. After the invasion of Ukraine, 2022, the European states were still largely trading with Russia. Right now, we are still kind of trading with Russia. Like, what do you do with that sort of like foreign policy? As an American president, right? You have there is something you want to happen, and it's not happening. Roman Viking says, kick out the countries that don't fulfill their obligations, like the 5%. Well, that specific obligation, even America is not fulfilling, right? 5% is a lot. And I don't think, I don't even necessarily think it is about the percentage. It's about actually recognizing the threat. Like if, let's say, all countries were united against Russia, meaning stop any trade with Russia, replace all of that trade, prepare for replacing all of the trade after 2014, for example, with American oil or American gas or whatever, just set up something to basically stop trading with these dictatorships. If that happened, I don't think it would have mattered if we are spending 1% on military or 5%. Especially when it comes to certain countries, Roman Viking says, kick out their embassies. Russia is a dictatorship. Yeah, I mean, you have still like a Russian embassy in Britain, right? Do something, like actually recognize the threat. Then I don't necessarily care, and I don't think even America cares. I don't think. I think it's. I think even for America, and I think that's why they largely don't necessarily care as much. America is happy to take on the sort of being the shield of the Western civilization, and I think it's benefiting them in many ways. And I think America likes that. But what they want to do is actually defend the West against some enemies, right? But then if you have most of NATO like trading with China, that is your biggest adversary, that you will probably go to war with. Well, what are you gonna do with that? But I think demanding the 5% is a wrong aim. Although maybe that is the only thing you can sort of like demand, because like in a sense, what you actually want is the culture in European states, the people in European states to change towards, well, one, liking America, right? There's a huge contempt for America in most European states, for its culture, for its people, for its general policies. And it's not just Trump. It's not like they only hate America because of Trump. It is general hate for America. And I don't know what you exactly do with that. Trump is currently using sort of bully tactics, which, you know, might not automatically be bad depending on what you're gonna do with that. And it might work. Maybe this is something that will make people in Europe, because again, it's not the leaders, it's the people, right? It's not the leaders that are against the war with Iran. It's the people of European states that are against the war with Iran, that are against, you know, doing something about Russia. Somebody's saying, have you read the US national security strategy just recently released? A lot of it is about the US reorienting and retreating essentially to the Americas rather than global hegemony. How recent? I know there, I think isn't there one released like every year? I think I've read the other one, or I think I've read one. I don't know how recent are we talking. Any sort of reorienting and retreating to the Americas. I mean, I don't think that would be beneficial to the world. I don't think that would necessarily be even that beneficial towards American people. So I don't like that sort of isolationism. I think America has enemies abroad that it has to deal with, but it also needs allies abroad that it can rely on, and that is the most sort of unfortunate part. You know, speaking as somebody living in Europe, you know, Europe, I might have to get out at some point. You know, I might want to get to America at some point, because of how unserious how unseriously the politicians and the people take the Russian threat. I'm on border with Ukraine. I'm then pretty much almost next to go. After Russia takes the Baltic states, if they ever manage to get there, well, I don't think there will be even war with in Slovakia. I think they will just become puppet regime. It will be sort of just a Belarus situation. We have a super chat from Bonnie. Thank you so much. Roman says, "Let's fight together, Daniel." Oh, where are you from, Roman? Although, have you? Is it Bulgaria, or am I thinking of somebody else? What is the? Oh, Germany. Okay. Well, yeah, it's just like the good old days. So a reminder for people: Slovakia was one of the two nations that started World War II. So it's gonna be me and Roman fighting against the neo-Soviet invasion of Europe. Okay, let's look at the news because I'm reading in chat. There's something. Oh, okay. So we have actually footage from the bridge that was struck in Iran. Oh, hell yeah. Let's take a look. This is on Truth Social, posted by Trump. Oh, wait, you cannot see. Oh, full screen works. Oh. Well, somebody's not getting to work today. So yeah, apparently the highest bridge in Middle East. All right, now you are getting banned because we do not appreciate spam. So yeah, this was the highest bridge in Iran. I think even with this one, we also had a comment from Trump saying Iran's largest bridge has collapsed and there is much more to come. Now is the time for Iran to make a deal before it's too late and nothing remains of what could have been a great country. All right, come on. Like, again, talking about the deal, talking about making a deal. When was this bridge bombed? Let me take a look. I think okay, the IDF said today. I don't know if we I'm not sure if we have specific. I don't either today or maybe yesterday. Although no, I think today. Most likely today, like afternoon or so, sort of local Iranian time. Oh, somebody says maybe 6 hours ago. So yeah, sounds like that. So so like actions are still happening in Iran. Even we'll go to Trump's speech soon, but like even if you go through there, he hasn't been saying that the war is ending now or anything similar. So this will continue. We will see how it goes. But we are joined right now by Anders Ingemarsson. Hey, Anders.
Hi, Daniel.
How have you been? I don't think you've joined us since the war has started.
No, this is the first time since the war started, yeah. I've been fine, just busy, and yeah.
So we will go through the Trump's recent announcement towards the American people. We will first do his 8 minutes he did at the start of the war, because I want to compare the two, how much they compare. But I want to go to you, Anders, about since you haven't been on, I'm wondering sort of the first question would be something like, what was your, when were you when they started? What were your thoughts? And second, what are your thoughts overall while this has been going on?
I don't remember where I was exactly when this all started. I mean, fundamentally, I'm all for taking out Iran. I've advocated for that for a long time and expressed those thoughts on the reality show many times. So I'm all for regime change. I think militarily, it has been an awesome display, both from Israel and from the US, about what we're able to do. But our president is Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is Donald Trump, whether it is related to foreign policy or domestic pieces. Sometimes he does a good thing. So, for instance, starting this war, I think, was a good thing. My main concern is if he has the staying power and the will to stay in this until we do see regime change, because I think it would be very unfortunate, mildly put, to stop before that happens, because that will not get rid of the root of the evil that is the Iranian regime, and that has been the Iranian regime for almost 50 years now.
Yeah, so we'll go through that. Let me just give a reminder to the people that as every episode, we do have a super chat goal. If we reach the super chat goal of £100, we will turn off the ads for the rest of the live stream. And also a separate announcement that's going to be, we will have a members only segment today. I'm not sure if Anders will be still for it, but at the end of the live stream there's going to be about 20 minutes or 30-minute segment that will be members only, so not open to the public. But with that, Anders, let's take a look. Have you seen the original Trump statement from February 28th when this war has started?
I don't know that I have. If I have,
yeah, and same for me. I'm not 100% sure what he said there. So let's take a look at that first. and we will compare it, sort of his original statements, with what he says today, and if they truly stand up. And again, since I haven't rewatched it, I might be surprised myself that maybe he has been consistent. But let's take a look.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels and international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts.
So I will try to not stop this one too much, especially since it's short and also generally good. Like, I think there's nothing to disagree with this first part. We are going to defend American.
I actually, when I listened to this, I remember I didn't see it, but I read it back in February. And to your point, I thought it was probably the best Trump speech I've ever read.
Yeah, and as I've said, I'm keeping notes of comparison. But yeah, everything he brought up, the goal is to defend American people from an imminent threat. They have been doing menacing activities, endangering Americans in the region, allies across the world, people around the world. They started, and even listing everything, right? They started by taking U.S. Embassy. There was the Marine barracks bombing, the attack on USS, killing Americans in Iraq, countless attack on Americans, attack on the international shipping and American vessels. So like listing everything, in a sense, all grievances is a list for listing all the ways Iran has been a threat to the American state and the American people. And
it was refreshingly focused on the self-interest of America and the American people.
So let's continue.
And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror, and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular, my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again, they can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried, They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America.
Okay, here he is going to the next point, which we will cover. So here in the second part, he focuses on the nuclear threat, which again is real. So just to list out the things, he said Iranian proxy Hamas launching attack on October 7, killing and kidnapping Americans. So another example of why Iran is a threat, saying that they are #1 state sponsor of terror, saying that they kill tens of thousands of their own people, and then going to the nuclear. They cannot have a nuclear weapon, never can have a nuclear happen. That's why 12-day war happened. We eliminated or destroyed their nuclear capabilities. They should have made the deal after, but they didn't renounce their nuclear ambitions, so we couldn't wait anymore. And also with their long-range missiles, they threaten European allies, so that's why we had to be involved. Anders, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, no, I think it's I don't disagree with anything really in what he has said so far, and which is quite remarkable, actually.
Yeah, and again, putting it all in context, like even talking about the European allies, and I'm wondering, like the biggest thing I'm wondering about is his expectations, especially the way he talks. Or like, was he expecting European states to join in when it comes to Iran? I think they should have, but I'm wondering if he really was expecting. He talks about the nuclear threat, and I think this is going to be the biggest comparison between the two speeches, the sort of emphasis on the nuclear threat. Because yeah, it's definitely nuclear Iran would be a much bigger threat, but everything he listed was a non-nuclear Iran. Like this has already happened without Iran having nuclear weapons. And especially since he is talking about the deal now, and even earlier he has been talking about the deal, does he think that if only Iran doesn't try to develop nuclear weapons, that the threat of Iran is eliminated? Anders, do you have any quick thoughts on that? Or?
Well, I think that without a regime change, the threat would not be eliminated. It would be reduced for a period of time until they manage to rebuild their capacities. And that period of time, I don't know how long it would be, but that's why I'm an advocate for regime change, because that's the only way of completely eliminating the threat for the duration.
Let's take a look more.
And our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces, and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you.
All right, Anders, this has been the whole speech. Any more thoughts on what he said now or overall?
Yeah.
By the way, somebody says this is from February 28th. Yes, just if somebody, this wasn't the speech Trump gave yesterday. This is from February 28th when this war has started. We mentioned it when we started, but people are tuning in and out of the stream. So yeah, this is from when the war started. We will go into the speech he gave yesterday. We just want to listen to this one for comparison. But hey, Anders.
Yeah, no, I overall, I think it's good. I think it's, the appeal to the Iranian people to take the opportunity is obviously a tall order, a big ask. And we haven't seen that happen yet. And we know from history that affecting regime change from within is difficult. But we also know that sometimes, it looks impossible and then suddenly it topples. We saw it in Syria not too long ago. We saw it at the fall of the Soviet Union, and we've seen it in other places around the world. So, I don't know. I have no more information than anybody else if we're on the brink of something like that happening, if the internal strife in the IRGC and the Baathi and the Iranian government is coming to that point, or if they're more like, we know they're fanatic, it's a kind of a death wish regime, nihilistic. I think somewhat valid comparison is with the Nazis during the Second World War, and you could ask the question if would we have gotten rid of the Nazis without invading Germany? We managed to get rid of the Japanese or threat without invading, but that took nuclear bombs, and it took the Japanese emperor's support, basically, or him basically laying down their weapons and declaring that we should stop fighting. So how close we are in Iran is very difficult to say, I think.
Well, something that should be said when it comes to even Japan, like we didn't, or we did not invade Japan. We didn't invade. We didn't
Not
get
mainland Japan, no.
Yeah,
but
mainland Japan,
obviously
but-
there was, throughout the Pacific, we were fighting the Japanese for
Yeah, because
several years.
if you take the extent of the Japanese Empire, we are talking about like all of Indonesia. We're talking about all of
Yes.
Indochina, most of China, even there, right? And that was reconquered by the time, or most of that was reconquered by the time Japan has fell. Even Germany, for that, not all of Germany was occupied by the time they surrendered. I think, I don't want to say if most of Germany was unoccupied, but I think still large part of Germany was unoccupied. So yeah, even when it comes to sort of like getting them to surrender, I don't think you can. In a sense, we won't see like anything close to like surrender from Iran just from the air. You might get them to do certain things, and that actually brings me to sort of Trump's goals, because now listening to it back, I mean, he promised certain things, and I think he fulfilled those things. So what did he promise? Totally obliterate their missile capabilities. Now, it's not totally obliterated, but it has been decimated. When it comes to their like Iranian launching capabilities, I think we are down to like 90% of it was eliminated. I mean, we have total aerial superiority. We can do whatever we want in Iran. He said obliterate navy. Iranian navy is gone. I like, we even attacked the navy in the Caspian Sea. That I don't know if anybody told to Iranians that Caspian Sea doesn't actually connect to any ocean, but like even there we eliminated the navy, and that Iran will not attain nuclear weapon. Well, I think that one is sort of like the biggest question. We obviously attacked the nuclear sites. I don't know what exactly is the intel on that. What is the state of the enriched uranium in Iran? Then he said we will never be threatened by nuclear Iran. So that seems to be sort of like his goal, at least from the start, including the other ones. But the regime change hasn't been the goal. Or in some ways it has been, right? We will destroy the state apparatus and then the Iranian people will stand up and take over. That seems to have been the goal. Iranian people are not standing up. There aren't people being ready to sort of take over. So in some ways, as much as I don't like the way this has been fought, because I think the goal should have been different, but it looks like this has been the way Trump has imagined that this was going to go.
I'm just curious who wrote the speech for him, because it's a really good, uncharacteristically good speech, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, whoever, I mean, every president has like speeches written for them, right?
Yeah.
They might only make certain changes. So I like, and probably somebody that generally, is in the administration. Maybe we could find it. Well, let me see. I mean, it might not just be like one person. But I'm wondering if it is somebody, because I never really thought about this question openly. Oh my god, I misspelled speeches. So it seems like, yeah, probably like mix of people. Although this scares me. Main speech writer historically has been Stephen Miller, so I don't think Stephen Miller wrote this one.
Yeah, that would surprise me, but who knows?
No, not this one. I would be surprised if this one was written by Stephen Miller. But yeah, I believe that, yeah, mainly, especially if you look at a lot of standard Trump rhetoric, it's definitely Stephen Miller vibe. Somebody says definitely not Vance. Of course not. Bonnie is asking, and I think she asked that yesterday as well, how is Iran able to close the strait if their navy is destroyed? How are they able to keep sending missiles if they are decimated? They seem to still be a threat. Because again, like, let's say I'm with a sniper rifle outside of like Anders's apartment, or even if I never shoot anybody, you know, he might still be like, he might think twice about going out. And I think that's the same with the Strait of Hormuz. It might not be that every ship will be destroyed, or that ships. Some ships are getting through. Some because they are, allowed to go through by Iran. But simply posing a threat, like what chance? Let's say there is a 5% chance that every time you go to certain town you might die. You would probably never go into that town. You're not willing to take a risk, and that's basically what Iran is doing. Simply the ability to threat. Like shutting down traffic is pretty easy, unfortunately. The Houthis, for example, don't have any sophisticated weaponry, yet they were able to shut down 1/3 of the trade going through their strait, through the Red Sea. That is what unfortunately is enough. Like destroying is unfortunately very easy. Yeah, take the Twin Towers. It took scientific advancement to insane level to build skyscrapers like the Twin Towers, and it takes a bunch of lunatic from caves to take it down. That is how it is.
Yeah, but I think this is the biggest question, is this whole thing. How could we not have foreseen this happening? I mean, because in hindsight it's pretty obvious, and I know there have been military war games in the area. I think I read an article just recently about 25 years ago where they played out this and what has exactly happened, and this may be something that you have talked about on the live stream in the past, but so yeah, it would be really interesting to be a fly on the wall in the Pentagon or wherever the command is sitting and hearing how they're reasoning, because there must be voices and minds there who saw this coming. I can't for my life believe that was not the case, and the fact that it, at least to an outsider, seems like there was no plan is disconcerting, obviously, and but it leads me to believe that I must be missing something here, because closing the Strait of Hormuz was, I mean, so obviously Iran's number one approach to this. And now when it has been closed, what is it that is stopping us from taking these islands? Is it just that we don't want to have troops on the ground, or are they so heavily fortified that it would result in mass casualties, or have we even bombed them? I don't know if we have bombed these islands.
We have bombed some of
so
them.
Just for your audience, if you look up, if you haven't already, look up a map of the strait, and you will see there a little tip of the Arabian Peninsula sticking up, and then you have opposite on the Iranian side, you have one fairly large island, and I can't pronounce the name, and then you have a few dots.
Isn't it Laristan?
Kesem or something. Yeah, and then there are 5 or 6 smaller islands in the strait that Iran hold, and that they have fortified over time, and where they're sitting and basically controlling the strait. And again, it would be really interesting to be a fly on the wall in the command center to hear what they were thinking about this.
All right, I think, okay, never mind. Laristan is a name for the bigger region. But yeah, the Keshem Island.
Kashem is the big one, yeah. And then there are a few rocks out in the in the strait that they have also.
I mean, my hypothesis right now that I think accounts for pretty much everything is I think Trump or Trump administration or even maybe the war games, I think expected Iranian people to rise up because that and might still be expecting that because that I think plays together with everything. If the Iranian people are going to rise up, you don't want to take those islands and you don't want to destroy completely those islands because if the Iranian people don't have anything to stand up for, right? If they know that pretty much everything is destroyed, I think there is little motivation to actually, because again, it's not gonna be just Iranian people. It's gonna be parts of the government that would stand up, and I don't think they are fully encouraged to do so if, like, a complete infrastructure of Iran is gone.
Yeah, but we're talking about a few isolated islands out in the Strait of Hormuz that really doesn't
Well,
impact
if we are
the
if we are talking about Karg Island, that's all of Iranian oil is going through there.
yeah, Karg Island is not in the Strait of Hormuz. Karg Island is a lot further up in the Persian Gulf. I'm talking about
But it's in okay.
Yeah.
So you mean just for the
just
even
to open the Strait of Hormuz. That's what I'm talking about.
but I think it wouldn't actually open it. That's the problem. Like even you could control all of the coastline of Iran, and Iran can still because you can just send drones. Like you can just keep sending drones like forever. Like it's cheap for Iran to make them.
Well, then it's even more flabbergasting that they don't seem to have planned for this.
Well, I think the plan was for the Iranian people to stand up, or I think that was what they were relying on. And now that it didn't happen, you are kind of lost with what to do now, because it doesn't seem like America wants to, or has maybe never want to actually put boots on the ground, like actually invade Iran. So yeah, in some ways, where do you go from this? And now I think America should have been prepared for this scenario. Maybe this opportunity shouldn't have been taken. Again, the reason why this opportunity happened is Israel, or maybe Israel and America together, but they had an intel that they can pretty much take over or take out Iranian leadership, which was a great opportunity, but it also means you are at war. Or I mean, technically you didn't have to. I mean, you could just eliminate all of Iranian leaders, and although even managing to do that and using that chaos is a great opportunity, which again, even like as I've said, even if let's say the war completely stops now, we still eliminated a lot of the Iranian threat. I think it should be taken to the end, and I wish it was taken to the end, but I don't want to, like, I guess there is a question, like, do you think, let's say this ends now, was this a failure, or rather...
No, I don't think so, but you know, I think it's a wasted opportunity, right? And we've spent a lot of money and material for this, and then it will, you know, I think, and it will embolden the regime if we pull out now. And I think that there is a very high likelihood that we will here, as he said in his recent speech, that in a few weeks it'll be over, one way or another. We'll see if that happens, but it will embolden the regime, and you know, this is, as I said, a nihilistic regime, and the fact that they didn't lose is a win for them. You know, and as we know, Islamists, they have a time horizon of generations, so they will just start over again, and until and then there will be a you know, and maybe it's 10 years reprieve that we get, or however long it is, but they will be back.
We have a super chat from Jonathan. Thank you so much. And we are also joined by Jonathan Honig. So I like that kind of entry. Jonathan, any thought? Yep.
Echoing what Anders just mentioned, you mean not only does the failure to convincingly overthrow the regime, despite what President Trump might claim, not only emboldens the regime, but it completely disincentivizes any uprising. I mean, the president explicitly told the protesters, in effect, help was on the way, but he has all but abandoned them. And as I understand it, there's been public executions and there's been rounding up already of dissidents. So you are completely eliminating any potential for, a secular future for Iran because of the way that these dissidents who were, as I understand it, promised help from the U.S., help that never came.
Yeah, now some people are saying the Iranian people cannot stand up until the bombing has ended. And I mean, there was a certain prediction. I would give it like maybe 20% or something, that let's say we get out, but simply like unilaterally just pull out, just stop attacking Iran, leave them to their own expenses, or maybe even just keep like limit our own involvement so that basically we don't have to spend as much money. But even that, by the way, the money we are spending, yes, we are spending money, but like it's like nothing really compared to actual like the US budget. It's actually almost insane how little this does technically cost. Again, in sort of like comparison of what is the actual US budget. But that basically Iran regime is so far gone, because just a reminder, we destroyed large parts of Iran during the 12-day war. Then they had a whole uprising of people, right? They had to kill tens of thousands of their own people. Then there was economic crisis. Iranian rial has completely lost all of its value. Inflation is being insane. Unemployment is being insane. In many ways, you could pull out, and again, I would give it like even like something, like I said, 20%, that the Iranian regime might straight up just collapse from within, even without the outside American involvement. Now, I don't think we should rely on it. I don't think it's a good outcome, or I don't think it's good to basically cast dice and hope it shows 7 for actually eliminating the threat of Iran. But we will also go to the full speech that Trump gave yesterday. Do you guys have any thoughts before that?
No,
all right,
let's roll that tape. Let's get right to it.
So this was a speech yesterday. I stay up late anyway. But yeah, I watched it and I was disappointed. And I'll explain why, but first let's watch it. And again, I kept notes from his original speech that he gave a month ago, so we will try to compare those two.
Thank you very much. My fellow Americans, good evening. Let me begin by congratulating the team at NASA and our brave astronauts on the successful launch of Artemis II. It was quite something. It will be traveling further than any manned rocket has ever flown and will very substantially pass the moon, go around it, and come back home from a distance that has never been done before. It's amazing. They are on the way, and God bless them. These are brave people. We want to God bless those 4 unbelievable astronauts. As we speak this evening, it's been just 1 month since the United States...
Actually, since he started with that, any thoughts on this one? We haven't mentioned it. Artemis 2, flying further than ever before, going around the moon. Jonathan, any?
Well, I'll just say, I manage money for a living, and despite the fact stocks in general are weak, it's been interesting because a lot of the space-related stocks have been strong in a weak tape. So, the market seems to be suggesting that, space and space exploration, of course, it's rumored that Elon Musk's SpaceX will become public this year. So, we could be taking recreation. I mean, I won't be because there's no way in hell I'm going to space. Don't want to. But people will be taking recreational trips to space, for not too much money, in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, imagine having spacewalk on your bucket list, just being able to do so. I'm wondering how.
I know it kind of makes Mount Rushmore look pretty pedestrian, doesn't it?
Anders, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about the renewed focus on space. I think, though, I'm more excited about what's going on in the private sector with SpaceX and so on and so forth than what's happening with NASA. And I don't know the value of going to the moon and circling the moon, really. I'm not sufficiently space educated to know if that is a good use of our tax dollars. But
well, we just got a super chat from Roman Viking saying, "Is NASA a legitimate function of government?"
Yeah,
and I would say mostly no, unless we are talking about national security, which I think you might make a case, because I think if we are talking about something like GPS, right, when you need a satellite on the orbit, which I think is an important part for the military. So I'm not sure if you would have to do it with NASA rather than just contracting.
Yes,
private.
It can all be purchased. All that technology should be purchased from, as Anders said, private companies. And one need only look to see what SpaceX, and I think to a lesser degree Blue Origin, has done to bring down the cost of space travel. It's amazing. It used to cost like $10,000 to send an ounce to space, and now it's a fraction of that. The cost of space travel, and Anders, to your point, that is because of that private initiative, private market, and at work.
Yeah, and so, but assuming that there is value in going to the moon, it's really sad that we have had nothing happening in the past 50 years, pretty much, or 60 years.
Well, I mean, I think the answer is exactly that, right? Like, okay, we already went to the moon,
and that is very much a function of the fact that it's a big government behemoth, and until SpaceX showed up on the scene, there wasn't really anybody who saw value in this. I mean, we have a lot of commercial satellites and such, but I think we're at the dawn of a real space race now, and that part is exciting. And it should be a private enterprise to almost 100%, and then to whatever extent that the space, what's called Space Force, is that part of the military that is engaged in space. That is probably a valid function of government because militarily, space will become a future battleground, I'm pretty sure. And so there is a valid function of government to defend us in that area, but they should do it primarily with material and software and so on and so forth developed in the private space.
Space Force, by the way, started by Trump, actually. So during his first administration. But yeah, I absolutely believe, I think, again, something is a valid function of government if it protects the individual rights of its citizens. Military, or sort of being able to protect from outside threats, is a legitimate function if it means, if getting a set. I mean, something like Starlink, right? Starlink was completely a private venture. I think maybe there have been some government contracts, because I know now there are government contracts with specifically Starlink. I mean, Ukraine is, of course, big when it comes to using Starlink for their drones, specifically for military purposes. So I know there have been some reimbursements in that way. But again, like anything, if government wants to do something, you don't have to make a government-owned business. You can just put out the contract, right? You can just say, hey, whoever wants to create a company to deliver us this specific thing for this amount of money, do it. And if nobody signs up, well, increase the amount of money you have to pay them. Eventually, there will be somebody willing to take that.
Yeah, so if you look at NASA, for instance, so if we imagine a day when, you know, everybody realizes that the government should just focus on its central functions of protecting individual rights, there are probably some functions in NASA that would go to Space Force and others that would just be taken over by private entities.
We have a super chat from Bulmos. Thank you so much. He says, I was playing a game called The Crust, and there was conflicting contracts where I could send one resources to combat global warming and one where I could fund a space travel program. Naturally, I chose the space program. I would definitely, it seems like a better alternative in those two things, but it's a false alternative. The government could also simply return the money to the people, especially, yeah, space travel program. I think somebody said, what was it, that not even landing on the moon, it's an expensive test run. I think what's unique about it is how far the moon is at that time from the Earth, because I think normally we just, you know, wait until Moon gets close to actually do anything on the moon, right? I believe that's how the original mission, the first landing on the moon, happened, and even all the subsequent ones. So I think the sort of unique part is like testing how far we are able to go on a manned aircraft. Because again, we can go further, obviously. I think there are certain things that we just sent out like forever in certain direction. But I think the main thing here is how far can humans go and then come back. So yeah, we're gonna do a lap around the moon. All right, anything more on this one? All right, let's take a look.
Military began Operation Epic Fury, targeting the world's #1 state sponsor of terror, Iran. In these past 4 weeks, our armed forces have delivered swift, decisive, overwhelming victories on the battlefield. Victories like few people have ever seen before. Tonight, Iran's Navy is gone. Their Air Force is in ruins. Their leaders, most of them terrorist regime they led, are now dead. Their command and control of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is being decimated as we speak. Their ability to launch missiles and drones is dramatically curtailed, and their weapons, factories, and rocket launchers are being blown to pieces. Very few of them left. Never in the history of warfare has an enemy suffered such clear and devastating large-scale losses in a matter of weeks. Our enemies are losing in America, as it has been for 5 years under my presidency, is winning, and now winning bigger than ever before. Before discussing this current situation, I also want to thank our troops for the masterful job they did in taking the country of Venezuela in a matter of minutes. That hit was quick, lethal, violent, and respected by everyone all over the world. After rebuilding our military during my first term, we have by far the strongest military anywhere in the world. And now we're working along with Venezuela and are, in a true sense, joint venture partners. We're getting along incredibly well in the production and sale of massive amounts of oil and gas, the second largest reserves on Earth after the United States of America. We're now totally independent of the Middle East, and yet we are there to help. We don't have to be there. We don't need their oil. We don't need anything they have, but we're there to help our allies.
So here is one of the first things I would point out, especially, again, let's compare it with the original speech. Why are we at war with Iran? It's a core national security interest. What was it specifically? We are defending American people from imminent threat. They are doing menacing activities that endanger Americans in the region and across the world, and allies across the world. They started by taking U.S. embassy. They committed the Marine barracks bombing in Lebanon. They killed Americans in Iraq. Countless attacks on American internationally. They were involved in 9/11. They are attacking international shipping. They are attacking American vessels. Iranian proxy Hamas launched attack on October 7, killing and kidnapping Americans. What is he saying now? Well, we don't have to be there. Well, no, Trump. We have to be there. You said that a month ago. Anders?
Well, this is Donald Trump. You know, you can't expect consistency. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Just in general, for how he started this speech, though, what's disappointing is the focus on the space mission and Venezuela. He should have launched right into Iran, because that is what people were interested in, I think. So this is the first time I hear it, so I don't know where he goes from here. But just from a presentation point of view, I think it certainly took away from the impact that he could have had.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I'm fully there, especially since I think Artemis 2, I think that happened like 1 hour before the speech. Like this was like straight up, like right before, or like very quickly before, and then he had the speech. So now we have two Jonathan Hornings. I don't know which one I'm putting in the back rooms, but Jonathan, any thoughts from you on this?
You can kill the capitalsplead.com Jonathan Honig. Sorry, I had to. Well, you know, I'm dismayed when I hear that we're getting along great with the new socialists in Venezuela. You know, I mean, is it about ideas or not? Is socialism okay if we're getting just a cut of the oil sales? You know, is socialism okay if, you know, if they're nicer to the U.S.? You know, it seems to kind of devoid of any of this discussion is, you know, the ideology. And Trump is insisting that the regime has changed, but, you know, it seems as if there's still, you know, there's a new mullah in town, but there's a mullah in town, and this regime is still an obvious threat. I mean, they're denying talks of a ceasefire, and they're tweeting out shit memes about Trump. So I don't see any contrition and, you know, quest for peace.
Let's take a look more.
Tonight, I want to provide an update on the tremendous progress our warriors have made in Iran and discuss why Operation Epic Fury is necessary for the safety of America and the security of the free world. From the
Oh, never mind. Maybe I just misinterpreted the earlier part. Maybe he was just specifically talking about the Strait of Hormuz and why America doesn't have to be that because of that. Because
Are you talking about Venezuela, I thought?
Oh, really? I might have completely missed that.
Well, I think that tells you something about the speech. That we're in
well, maybe I'm
disagreement.
just confused. Well, okay, let's just take a look just so maybe I gave improper.
anywhere in the world. And now we're working along with Venezuela and are, in a true sense, joint venture partners. We're getting along incredibly well in the production and sale of massive amounts of oil and gas, the second largest reserves on Earth after the United States of America. We're now totally independent of the Middle East, and yet we are there to help. We don't have to be there. We don't need their oil. We don't need anything they have, but we're there.
Oh, yeah. I know.
We don't
you're
need to be in
correct.
Middle East, right? That's what he's saying.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah.
Which again, I don't really understand because now he goes into it why we need to be there. So I don't. This is like maybe just. All right.
To help our allies. Tonight, I want to provide an update on the tremendous progress our warriors have made in Iran and discuss why Operation Epic Fury is necessary for the safety of America and the security of the free world. From the very first day I announced my campaign for president in 2015, I have vowed that I would never allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. This fanatical regime has been chanting death to America, death to Israel for 47 years. Their proxies were behind the murder of 241 Americans in the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut, the slaughter of hundreds of our service members with roadside bombs. They were involved in the attack on the USS Cole, and they carried out the countless other heinous acts, including the just horrible, bloody atrocities of October 7th in Israel, something that most people have never seen anything like it. This murderous regime also recently killed 45,000 of their own people who were protesting in Iran. 45,000 dead. For these terrorists to have nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat. The most violent and thuggish regime on earth would be free to carry out their campaigns of terror, coercion, conquest, and mass murder from behind a nuclear shield. I will never let that happen, and neither should any of our past presidents. This situation has been going on for 47 years and should have been handled long before I arrived in office. I did many things during my 2 terms in office to stop the quest for nuclear weapons by Iran first, and perhaps most importantly, I killed General Qasem Soleimani in my first term. He was an evil genius, brilliant person, a horrible human being, however, the father of the roadside bomb, and he lived just horrible what he did. Iran would have been perhaps in far better, stronger position. Had he lived, we would have had probably a different conversation tonight. But you know.
Okay, we can just quickly pause here. So he is actually very similar to his original discussion now that we hear them side by side. Because yeah, he brought up again all the bad things, all the war acts that Iran has committed against America, the reason why America has to defend American lives, has to go to war with Iran, and then he goes into the nuclear threat, which again is definitely the problem. I'm honestly wondering what would happen if Trump was the president during the North Korean development of nuclear weapons, because the fact is America just let North Korea develop nuclear weapons. We maybe tried some inspections or tried some sort of deals, but they did do it. The fact might be that Iran might have also developed nuclear weapons, unless for Trump, which again shouldn't be the only goal. You should still want to eliminate the original threat. But Anders, any thoughts on the speech so far?
Well, compared to the February speech, I think the February speech, in hindsight, he was uncharacteristically disciplined in delivering that message. He stayed on message, I think, pretty much throughout.
8 minutes.
Yeah, and now here, you start to see some of the rambling, at least towards the end there with Soleimani, and so it's more standard Trump, perhaps. But to your point, yeah, he repeats several of those assertions that are true for why we can't allow Iran to have nuclear weapons, and
Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean, he when he was sticking to the script, the script in reality comports to give the West and America and Israel every right to make the Iranian threat non-threatening. I mean, Trump gets a little sidetracked. He's been kind of bragging and taking victory laps about Soleimani for years. This has been kind of a thing that he fashions himself as a very tough warrior. What I worry about is if the regime stays in place, that becomes part of the folklore. We took on America and won. The only state governed by Sharia law took on the West and won. We beat back America and we beat back Israel. And I mean, that becomes part of the lore of training the next generation of Islamist fighters and, kids willing to die for Muhammad or die for Allah or die for the faith or the cause or the tribe. So, it's the long-term ramifications of the short-term compromise. And the only one that benefits, Trump wants a deal with some of the worst people in the world, and the only people that benefit long or short term are those evil people.
Yeah, you don't compromise with evil.
Let's take a look more.
What, we'd still be winning and winning big. And then, very importantly, I terminated Barack Hussein Obama's Iran nuclear deal, a disaster. Obama gave them $1.7 billion in cash, green cash. Took it out of banks from Virginia, D.C., and Maryland, all the cash they had. He flew it by airplanes in an attempt to buy their respect and loyalty, but it didn't work. They laughed at our president and went on with their mission to have a nuclear bomb. His Iran deal would have led to a colossal arsenal of massive nuclear weapons for Iran, and they would have had them years ago, and they would have used them. It would have been a different world. There would have been no Middle East and no Israel right now, in my opinion, the opinion of a lot of great experts, had I not terminated that terrible deal. And I was so honored to do it. I was so proud to do it. It was so bad right from the beginning. Essentially, I did what no other president was willing to do. They made mistakes, and I am correcting them. My first preference was always the path of diplomacy, yet the regime continued their relentless quest for nuclear weapons and rejected every attempt at an agreement. For this reason, in June, I ordered a strike on Iran's key nuclear facilities, an Operation Midnight Hammer. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Those beautiful B-2 bombers performed magnificently. We totally obliterated those nuclear sites. The regime then sought to rebuild their nuclear program at a totally different location, making clear they had no intention of abandoning their pursuit of nuclear weapons. They were also rapidly building a vast stockpile of conventional ballistic missiles and would soon have had missiles that could reach the American homeland, Europe, and virtually any other place on Earth. Iran's strategy was so obvious. They wanted to produce as many missiles as possible, and they did, with the longest range possible. And they had some weapons that nobody believed they had. We just learned that out. We took them out. We took them all out so that no.
I mean, here I would, again, like pause it and say, like, everything he says is right. Like, yeah, Iran doesn't care for making a deal. Again, the kind of deal that Trump would want, well, I don't think it's a realistic deal. I think some of the information I've seen about it is like no nuclear, no enriched uranium for Iran, no ballistic missiles, or like no development of longer range missiles, no support for the Houthis or for like all the proxies, and yeah, obviously not attack America. But it's like, well, that's the reason why IRGC exists. That's the reason why Iran exists. I don't know how you can. I don't know how you can do like a deal on that, on like the fundamental truth of like the regime. It's like making a deal with me that, you know, I get something, but I have to stop being human. I mean, I don't know how to do that. Like, that's not inside of me to not be human, because I am one. And I don't think it is within Iran to not be a terrorist regime. Oh, I mean, the current administration, obviously. If a new regime takes place, then we can talk about that. But yeah, I mean, Anders, it's like everything he says is right, but like the only answer I think you get from that, or the only conclusion, is we have to take out the threat of Iran.
Yeah, no, regime change is the only solution to long-lasting peace and to get rid of the Islamist threat. And you know, if the regime in Iran would be taken out, I mean, that would be have such ripple effects and would be such a benefit to the free world that we would probably see peace for a long time. I think it would discourage China, it would discourage Russia. But on the other hand, not doing it is, as Jonathan said, it would not only encourage the Iranians and for future generations and create this lore around the fact that they managed to stand up to the Americans and the Israelis, But that would also be encouragement to Russia and to China and North Korea and all the other evil players around the world. So this it's critical to take out the regime here. Will it happen? I don't know. We'll find out. And
Can
sorry,
can can,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to quickly say, I mean, it might seem inconsequential, but I have to say, and anyone who saw me during the Obama years on cable news knows I was no fan of the Obama administration. But I think that if you respect the office, to refer to President Obama as Barack Hussein Obama is like a stupid dog whistle type of smear. And to spend, a portion of this speech, bragging about how he's doing things that no other president could do, another president had the courage to do, and only he could do it. It's like, it's such the hallmark of a man with no self-esteem, when he has to spend time besmirching other administrations who are not in, it's like he's the president now. So, I mean, that's just classic Trump. He's constantly has to be, self-aggrandizing, but, he's bragging about the strength of the American military, yet the regime that he claims we've annihilated, we've pummeled, they got nothing left, they're still there. They're the ones still negotiating, and they're having demands of their own. So, the bark and the bite don't add up. And that is not at all a slam on the men and women who are fighting in the U.S. Armed Service and IDF as well.
Well said. And I'm afraid I have to drop, Daniel.
Where can people find you?
People can find me on Substack, andersingemarson.substack.com, and pick up a copy of my book, Think Right or Wrong, Not Left or Right, on Amazon.
So,
next time.
so thank you, Anders, for joining us today, and hopefully we'll have you more in the upcoming weeks or upcoming days and weeks. Jonathan, any thoughts, or should we go more to the speech?
Let's see the speech. Let's roll the tape.
We are almost halfway done with it.
No one would really dare stop them, and their race for a nuclear bomb, a nuclear weapon like nobody's ever seen before. They were right at the doorstep. For years, everyone has said that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons, but in the end, those are just words if you're not willing to take action when the time comes. As I stated in my announcement of Operation Epic Fury, our objectives are very simple and clear. We are systematically dismantling the regime's ability to threaten America or project power outside of their borders. That means eliminating Iran's Navy, which is now absolutely destroyed, hurting their Air Force and their missile program at levels never seen before, and annihilating their defense industrial base. We've done all of it. Their Navy is gone, their Air Force is gone, their missiles are just about used up or beaten. Taken together, these actions will cripple Iran military, crush their ability to support terrorist proxies, and deny them the ability to build a nuclear bomb. Our armed forces have been extraordinary. There's never been anything like it militarily. Everyone is talking about it, and tonight I'm pleased to say that these core strategic objectives are nearing completion. As we celebrate this progress, we think especially of the 13 American warriors who have laid down.
So just a little bit on, it's interesting. I think this, again, connects to the original speech. Jonathan, you were not on the show when we covered the original speech, but maybe you watched it yourself. Because he talked in the original speech about that we will, what was it? We will totally obliterate their missiles. We will obliterate their navy. Iran will not attain nuclear weapon. And now he is actually covering that, right? We did eliminate their navy. We did largely destroy their missile capabilities. Unfortunately, even if it's largely, they still have some capabilities, which unfortunately Israelis are still feeling every day. But at least on this he is right. Jonathan?
I mean, no question. There's been significant damage done And Daniel, I admit I speak a little bit out of my area of expertise. I'm a stock market guy. I'm not a war expert, and I'm not but I've read John David Lewis's book. I've read Ilan Cherno's book about fighting in the Middle East and peace in the Middle East. And Dr. Brook had a comment on his podcast recently where he said, "Why?" And you sound like a heartless SOB, but why hasn't Tehran been plunged into darkness? Why haven't the instruments that fund the IRGC been targeted? If civilian life in Tehran was really made impossible, do you think that the regime would be able to sustain itself? And the Trump administration just seems unwilling to go all the way. And if you want to know what it looks like, you look at that famous photo of the Japanese surrendering on the warship after World War II. And I believe the president used the phrase, unless I'm imagining it, total surrender at some point. And it doesn't seem, at least from Iran's social media, like that's what we're getting.
Yeah, a few days ago, or maybe it was like a week ago or weeks ago, I actually did go through the FDR's infamous speech. Let me see if it mentions surrender or... Okay, he said, no matter how long it may take us... Well, I should do FDR accent. No matter how long it will... I don't know how to... It will take us to...
No accent.
Overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people, in their righteous might, will win through to absolute victory. That was FDR's statement to Congress and to the people after the after Pearl Harbor. So absolute victory is what he said. Okay. Anything to add? All right, let's watch more.
On their lives in this fight to prevent our children from ever having to face a nuclear Iran. Twice this past month, I have traveled to Dover Air Force Base, and it's been something. I wanted to be with those heroes as they return to American soil, and I was with them and their families, their parents, their wives, their husbands. We salute them, and now we must honor them by completing the mission for which they gave their lives. And every single one of the people, their loved ones said, please, sir, please finish the job, every one of them. And we are going to finish the job, and we're going to finish it very fast. We're getting very close. I want to thank our allies in the Middle East.
Okay, this is good. Finish the job. Finish the job. Good. What is the job, though? What is the goal? Because I think right now, at least, again, taking his early speech into context, taking this speech into context, it seems like the job is simply removing the nuclear capabilities from Iran. I don't think that is the fundamental goal here. The fundamental goal should be to eliminate a threat that Iran is posing. Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean, if the Strait of Hormuz is still threatened by Iran, then it's hard to make the same argument, argue at the same time that we've eliminated the threat of Iran. So, again, I think of Dr. Peikoff on one of his podcasts talked about, the object of a war, and I'm summarizing here, obviously, but just to make the threat non-threatening. And thus far, although maybe some of the regime has changed, the regime philosophically hasn't changed, as evidenced, as I said, by the fact that they're rounding up dissidents and executing dissidents. So, I'm glad that there's been military action, and Trump was right. This is 40 plus years in the making, but now is the opportunity to finish the job. And, Daniel, we've kind of, fantasized about, what could happen in Iran. I mean, if it could become a secular hub in the Middle East, and Dr. Brook has speculated, and I think he's right, that this could be the biggest transformation geopolitically since the fall of the Berlin Wall, but not if the Iranian regime, qua Islam remains in place, not if Sharia law remains in place. I think you'll get 40 more years of, abuse of the Iranian people primarily, but the Iran's neighbors, particularly Israel, as well.
Bonnie says, well, he did blow up the tallest bridge in Iran since his speech, or was that Israel? I think I read that IDF reported on that. Now, this could be still either way. But again, America and Israel are largely coordinating their actions. So I think there's probably a lot of, unified vision on what's happening there. And Trump did post the destruction of that bridge. So I don't know if that is mixed messaging. Because in many ways, like, Jonathan, you were on a show, was it yesterday? When we talked about what will happen in the speech, right? I think I talked to you about today. Like, we were thinking about what he might announce at the speech.
Yep.
We were predicting he will announce surrender. Like, we are pulling out. So far, I mean, in some ways, I'm happy that this speech is pretty much, it's more of a war update, right? This is what we did so far. This is what our plans are so far. And we are going to finish the job. It might be short or it won't take much longer, which I don't think he needs to give that. Simply give us, give us an update. As I said, most of it is simply, for people who are not obsessing over watching through social and watching the war every day like we do on this live stream. I think generally decent update to the people on the state of this war and the fact that seemingly we are continuing with this, which I think is absolutely needed and should happen.
I have to say I was a little surprised by that language, because in what I've heard from the president in recent days is his emphasis on how, in his terms, there has been regime change in Iran. Now, there hasn't been regime change in Iran, but the president has talked about how, quote, and I'm air quoting, but we're dealing with a new regime. Well, that's not really the case. So I have to say, I thought he was going to, Daniel, to your point, say, because of that, we're ready to make it, we're on our way out. But to his credit, he didn't say that. And I hope now, now is, and to President Trump's great credit, now is the greatest opportunity and, since the embassy to advocate for regime change in Iran. But I think the Iranian people need to feel safe to be able to do that. And saying, well, we're going to be out of here in 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks might not necessarily do that. Again, I'm not an expert in warfare, but if the goal is regime change, then anything less is a loss.
Let's take a look more.
Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain, they've been great, and we will not let them get hurt or fail in any way, shape, or form. Many Americans have been concerned to see the recent rise in gasoline prices here at home. This short-term increase has been entirely the result of the Iranian regime launching deranged terror attacks against commercial oil tankers and neighboring countries that have nothing to do with the conflict. This is yet more proof that Iran can never be trusted with nuclear weapons. They will use them, and they will use them quickly. It would lead to decades of extortion, economic pain, and instability worse than we can ever imagine. The United States has never been better prepared economically to confront this threat. You all know that. We built the strongest economy in history. We're going through it right now, the strongest in history. In 1 year, we've taken a dead and crippled country. I hate to say that, but we were a dead and
Can I just stop in this for, this is just not true. This fiction that the U.S. was dead and crippled and then Trump came around and everything turned around. I mean, I think the S&P was up double digits for the last 2 years of the Biden administration. So look, I'm not advocating for one, but this fantasy that Trump tells that the U.S. economy was up for dead until Trump came to town is just not played out by the facts.
Yeah, although I don't know if he meant his recent comeback or if he meant the sort of original came in. But Trump, I mean, had. I mean, when he says the economy was great under Trump, I think that's true just because, I mean, it was late 2010s, right? Like everybody's economies were doing amazingly until COVID. And then after COVID, the sort of, I don't know what you would call it, but sort of the bounce back after COVID was also great for a lot of countries. Like you said, with the last 2 years of Biden, that was simply sort of the comeback. I mean, yeah, this is sort of like classic Trump. You know, everything was bad, then I came in and like fixed everything, which I don't even like. Like that, I feel like that shouldn't even be happening. Like I don't like the fact that presidents should have this much power over how much or how well the nation is doing economic wise, right? It should be sort of no matter who is in the White House, things hopefully are doing great and things are hopeful. Now, Trump obviously helped in certain areas and definitely Biden or Obama hurt in certain areas. But yeah, taking sort of like all
Yeah,
the
I mean,
credit.
let's not forget that. And again, just stating the facts here, President Trump in the first term advocated for bigger stimulus checks. He wanted his name printed on them. So a lot of the inflation that utterly ensued in the Biden era started under the Trump era and was fomented under the Trump era. So that history needs to be recounted correctly.
Yeah, and didn't he want to also do tariff? What was it like tariff dividend or something like that?
They talked about a tariff dividend. They've talked about a Doge dividend, but meanwhile, they've continued spending at what I understand is a higher rate than President Biden did. So, with all the talk about Doge and all the cuts there's going to be, I mean, there's been no cuts. And in fact, this is not financial advice, but the fact is that inflation, even before Trump, the rise in gas prices, has been quite sticky, much closer to 3% than 2%. And the last month, as I understand it, has been the largest 1 month gain in oil prices in history. And the surprise about the Straits of Hormuz, Daniel, the how could this possibly happen? Is a little bit surprising given the fact that I believe John Bolton told CNN that he had briefed President Trump on the dangers of the Straits of Iran breaking or blocking the Straits of Hormuz. So, there seems to be a little bit of an amateur hourness about some of this. Not our soldiers, but the plan and the big picture plan. So, I hope that the objective and the true objective can be achieved. Otherwise, we're going to be back here in 3 or 5 or 10 or 15 years once again.
Yeah, and while we're talking about the stock market, I checked my own thing, which I don't know what happened, but mine is up a little bit month to date for some reason. I kind of made some of the money back, although you don't make it until you sell it. And I'm wondering, like, when he talks about sort of, the market being up and down, and when we talk about like him trying to manipulate the markets in sort of like making sure it doesn't go too much. I'm wondering how like normally people psychology mention it because I can mention it like now it went up like 300 euro for me, which if I told you the percentage you can guess how much money I have there. But I'm wondering because if you have like tens of millions invested, right? If something even goes down by 1 point or like 1%, like 1% from 10 million, that's 100,000 of like just up and down every day. It's kind of wait, yeah, 100,000. It's kind of crazy to think about. I'm sure Jonathan would have something to tell about the psychology of.
Only Daniel, only that I'm sorry that President Trump usually credits himself with strength in the economy. He doesn't credit the innovative, often immigrants, but innovative people at these AI companies and these quantum computing companies and these people that are coming up with all this shit that makes the world so much better. He credits him.
Jonathan? I think we might have lost Jonathan a little bit. So unless he comes back, let's go back and listen to Trump, and then we'll go back to Jonathan.
Last administration and made it the hottest country anywhere in the world by far, with no inflation, record-setting investments coming into the United States, over $18 trillion, and the highest stock market ever, with 53 all-time record highs in just 1 year. It all positioned us to get rid of a cancer that has long simmered. It's known as the nuclear Iran, and they didn't know what was coming. They've never imagined it. Remember, because of our Drill Baby Drill program, America has plenty of gas. We have so much gas. Under my leadership, we are #1 producer of oil and gas on the planet, without even discussing the millions of barrels that we're getting from Venezuela. Because of the Trump administration's policies, we produce more oil and gas than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. Think of that, Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. And that number will soon be.
So again, like what he says is true. Well, he said like there's been no inflation, which to me, whenever he says that, that's funny on two occasions. One, no inflation. Well, he's obviously like, that's a lie. I don't know what he means about that. Maybe inflation hasn't risen, but no, when he says no inflation, he's lying. And two, technically, if you listen to like modern economists, they would say that no inflation is also bad, right? Oftentimes they fear deflation. So the sort of modern economy, the modern central banking is usually built around the 2% inflation, like that. That is usually what you want. And if you have low inflation, that is actually something they don't like. I think it's a wrong way to think about it, but yeah.
Just not true. I mean, inflation is compounding at near 3%, not 2%. So just factually inaccurate to say that there's no inflation. Not red or blue, just green, as my old mentor Neil Cavuto used to say. So the inflation genie is not dead yet, not in America.
We have a super chat from Roman Viking. Thank you so much. He said, should a state have at least one unifying official language so that everyone understands the law and can follow it? I don't think so necessarily. I mean, America doesn't have an official language, although didn't Trump do something in that regard? I don't know if it was ever finished. I know Trump wanted to do something in there, but technically America doesn't have an official language. I don't think you need so necessarily. I think it will naturally develop that, you know, maybe like most counties, let's say America, right? Most counties will just start doing documents and everything in English. But, you know, maybe some counties will add Spanish or, you know, other languages that become, that are popular in that region or that many people share in that region. I don't necessarily think that you need, I might be convinced of that, but I don't think you necessarily need so. Jonathan?
I have to say, I believe that Dr. Peikoff has been asked this question. And if you don't know of Dr. Leonard Peikoff, he is Ayn Rand's intellectual heir. He is in his 90s now. He's retired from philosophy, but his body of work should be read by any student of objectivism and listened to. So there's a whole treasure trove of podcasts in which people would ask Dr. Peikoff questions. And I actually think this is one of them, is that should English be the national language of America? So we'll do a little research. Maybe we'll post it in the show notes and see if we can find his answer on this topic.
Okay, so you don't remember the answer. Well, maybe if, because I know he has the podcast, but I think they're still hard to actually look through, right? If I remember correctly. There's a podcast page, but it's hard to actually search through it for specific.
Yeah, it's going to take me a little time, so we'll get it in the show notes.
Sounds good. And yeah, maybe we'll bring it up again tomorrow for you, Roman Viking, to get at the very least more thought out answer, because I don't have a strong opinion on this. He says at least one. Again, I don't like again, when we are talking about like a official language, we are saying like the state says something like all documents have to be in this language, or all conductions of this have to be in this language. I don't think that's necessarily needed, because I think it's sort of like natural, and I don't necessarily like government to be involved in something like that. But again, I'm not super strong on this, because again, America doesn't have a national language, yet everybody still speaks in English, right? And all the government stuff is done in English. So it will, just because you don't have a national language doesn't mean that it somehow won't be used, or like no language will be used. Okay, let's take a look more.
Be substantially higher than that. There's no country like us anywhere in the world, and we're in great shape for the future. The United States imports almost no oil through the Hormuz Strait and won't be taking any in the future. We don't need it. We haven't needed it, and we don't need it. We've beaten and completely decimated Iran. They are decimated, both militarily and economically and in every other way. And the countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it. They must grab it and cherish it. They can do it easily. We will be helpful, but they should take the lead in protecting the oil that they so desperately depend on. So to those countries that can't get fuel, many of which refuse to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, we had to do it ourselves. I have a suggestion. Number one, buy oil from the United States of America. We have plenty. We have so much. And number two, build up some delayed courage. Should have done it before. Should have done it with us, as we asked. Go to the Strait and just take it, protect it, use it for yourselves. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done, so it should be easy.
So yeah, here he is talking about like if European states want to open up the Strait of Hormuz, they can go and do so. Which I think when I listened to it, this was somewhat like almost what we would say like a based answer. You attack Iran, you in a sense cause the closing down of the Strait of Hormuz, because Iran is trying to basically blackmail the West, and then you say, well, I'm getting out, you guys deal with that. And yeah, technically it is true that America doesn't deal with the Strait of Hormuz in terms of like it doesn't trade through that. But still, if global prices of oil rise, that also means the prices for Americans are rising, because still, if the price globally is high, that also means that whatever America is importing, they have to pay more, even if it's not coming from the Strait of Hormuz. Because again, there's a less supply, right? And because of the global trade, less supply on the global market means everybody has to pay higher prices, unless you get some sort of a special deal with specific countries that go directly or something like that. But we are joined by Iyar Reichel as well today from Israel. Iyar, have you seen this recent speech from Trump yesterday? And yeah, and
Yes,
any overall? Yep.
the Iranians have basically woke me up around 3 a.m. Israeli time, and the speech was at 4 a.m. Israeli time. So I've watched it live, and well, it didn't say much as far as I can see. It's basically campaigning. I like the part when he basically blamed Obama for what he did, which was right. But yeah, well, like he says, like he basically is like telling the Iranians, okay, you either negotiate or we'll bring hell upon you. But that's what he's been saying for like the past 2 weeks or more. And by the way, hello and good evening, everyone. Glad to see people at the chat.
Jonathan, any thoughts from you?
Great to see you, Yar. And when you say the Iranians woke you up, you're referring to alarm system and a missile alert system. Am I right?
Let's talk with chronological causality. They have shot missiles, and then the alarm therefore woke me up. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, this is what I'm saying is Trump is taking a victory lap. Like, and again, with all respect to American and IDF soldiers who are incredible, but it's about ideas and how much have those ideas in Iran changed if Yar is still has to run to a bomb shelter at 3 a.m. in the morning, or the Straits of Hormuz are still blocked, or there's still dissidents being executed in the streets. So, if ideas are what matter and what move the world, how much have these ideas changed despite all the damage that President Trump and the IDF have caused?
Back in June, I was in an Iron Center UK event, a live event, and it was after the 12-day war. And I said back then, I think that it's also relevant now, I said basically the American public is basically somewhat traumatized from the Vietnam War. And Trump knows that. Trump remembers how America has reacted to people dying in Vietnam. I'm not even talking about the American soldiers dying, which is, of course, a horrible thing, but the American public condemned the United States of America for the death of the North Vietnamese. And I said back then that basically the American administration, including Trump, doesn't have the courage to do what it takes because they don't want to be criticized for death in Iran. And I've heard news recently that Bibi basically is trying to convince Trump. I don't know if it's true, but this is what I've heard, that Bibi is trying to convince Trump to go harder on the regime so it will, fall, and there will be some sort of a civil war inside Iran that will lead to the fall of the regime and the installment of a pro-Western regime. And Trump is not interested in doing so because it will lead to a lot of dead Iranians. Now, this is the right thing to do, and it has a price, but it's still the right thing to do. This regime gotta go. And if you care about the Iranians, they're faced with two options. Either live the rest of their life under this totalitarian Shia Islam terror regime, or they have basically this one shot of trying to fight for freedom. And yes, a lot of people will die, but this is their only chance out of this horrible life. And this is when you look at the well-being of the Iranians as the primary. You shouldn't even look at it as the primary. The primary is the well-being of Americans and Israelis. They are the one fighting to defend themselves, and they should do what it takes to defend themselves. And as you mentioned, Jonathan, we are basically, the United States and America, by not doing what it takes, by not bombing crucial infrastructure, by trying to maintain the life of the Iranian people as comfortable as possible, they're sacrificing Americans and Israelis. And by the way, all of the harm to the world trade. And as you spoke about, basically, as long as the straits are closed, everything's going to be more expensive throughout the world, because as far as I can tell, the world has not yet moved on to nuclear energy. The world is still dependent on oil for energy. And when 20% of oil trade is compromised, it's going to make everything more expensive. Not only the thing directly influenced by oil, but the whole trade is going to be influenced, because everything relies on energy. Everything that relies on energy is going to be more expensive. And I'm not even talking about the Gulf countries that need the Straits of Hormuz for goods and medicine and food that will suffer, and therefore their trade partners will suffer as well. So we're sacrificing all that for the sake of the people of Iran having a more comfortable time during this war. This war is not about making sure the Iranian people are having a nice time. It's about protecting the Western world, and as a secondary goal, freeing Iran from this evil regime. And that's what we should be focusing on. And we should do things that will be very painful for the Iranians for this to happen. And we're not doing that. And that's why the war is taking weeks, and it has influence all over the world.
Just to sort of to bring up, wait, give me a second.
This is a Fox News Super Alert!
Pam Bondi has been fired as an Attorney General of Trump. This just happened about an hour ago, or at least it has been announced about an hour ago. Pam Bondi is gone. I don't think we have any yet concretes on why she lost her job, but Todd Blanche will be the next Attorney General instead, and he looks like is already acting Attorney General. Or maybe he will just be acting and there will be somebody else replacing him full time. But yeah. Jonathan, any thoughts on this one or what Iar said?
This had been telegraphed in recent days, and I don't think so surprising actually.
Sure, and we have been actually seeing a bit of reshuffling when it comes to Trump. I mean, then like this happened, and also earlier, was that like a few weeks ago, Kristi Noem was also fired, or reassigned from her post at the Department of Homeland Security. So yeah, maybe there seems to be a little bit of reshuffling, which I would say normally would be for the good, but I'm kind of afraid that the reason why Pam Bondi was dismissed is that she is not being as quick to go maybe after people that Trump doesn't like. So I'm not necessarily sure if this is a great thing. Okay, Salome in the chat says acting. Okay, so the Todd Blanche is simply the acting Attorney General right now. Oh yeah, and even confirmation might be kind of hard, so we'll see how that goes. All right, go to the speech.
And in any
Oh, before we go that, let me just give a reminder to people. So we will finish the speech, then I think we will do a little bit of a news update. We'll go through any clips we have left. And then for the last segment I have prepared today, the live stream will be members only. So at that point we will switch to members only live stream. And again, only YouTube members who are watching us will be able to continue where we will cover the last segment. Oh, and I should mention what is the last segment. Something I had prepared for a while. I'm gonna cover clavicular. I don't know if people know this sort of figure in the in sort of I don't know what to call it. I don't know if people know this influencer, but I had some thoughts on him that might surprise some people. So it might be interesting, but it is a little bit different. It's a little bit unique. So I think it's a great place for members only part. With that, let's go back to Trump.
event, when this conflict is over, the strait will open up naturally. It'll just open up naturally. They're going to want to be able to sell oil because that's all they have to try and rebuild. It will resume the flowing, and the gas prices will rapidly come back down. Stock prices will rapidly go back up. They haven't come down very much, frankly. They came down a little bit, but they've had some very good days over the last couple of days. We've done actually much better than I thought, but we had to take that little journey to Iran to get rid of this horrible threat. With our historic tax cuts, where people are just now talking about receiving larger refunds than they ever thought possible. They are getting so much more money than they thought. That's from the great big beautiful bill. Our economy is strong and improving by the day, and it will soon be roaring back like never before. It will top the levels that it was a month ago. I've made clear from the beginning of Operation Epic Fury that we will continue until our objectives are fully achieved. Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly.
So again, I think this is for the most part good, like saying, because again, I was predicting we will announce surrender here. We will announce we are getting the hell out of here. But no, he says we will do this and we will continue until we reach the goals of this war. Now, I'm still a little bit concerned about what the goals actually are, but I like this for the most part. ER?
Well, on the one hand, good job for Trump for going for this operation. On the other hand, I'm not sure he'd finish the job and by finish the job, I mean unconditional Iranian surrender, which is the only ought to be outcome of this campaign. And as I mentioned before, it is quite possible and will not be that hard for Israel and America to achieve that, besides the fact that they are stopping themselves from achieving that because of the popular Western morality. As long as, at the moment, they don't understand that they just do inflict catastrophic damage on the Iranian regime, including its supporters and even people who does not support it, that it's just necessary for them to bear the consequences of whatever actions, which could be like, taking down electricity, water, whatever, until this regime would surrender. As long as they would not do that, it's going to take time, and they might just cave and give up this goal altogether. So, good job for starting this operation. Good job for taking the leadership. Good job for destroying nuclear capabilities. Good job for destroying ballistic missiles. Good job for destroying besieged targets. This is very great. And good job for the speech, but still, we gotta have a purpose here. We gotta have a solid, good purpose. And the only good purpose of such a war would be removing the Ayatollah regime and installing a pro-Western regime. This is the only outcome we should strive to and act to and do things that we haven't done yet. And as long as this doesn't happen, this speech doesn't mean a lot to me. He's just basically, he's trying to get morale high, trying to get support for his actions, which is great. But he's also like building up whatever exit point he wants. There is nothing explicit here about him wanting to remove the Ayatollah regime. He basically said, I've switched the regime like thousands of times, like as if by saying replacing the regime it means killing one Ayatollah so another Ayatollah will be appointed. This is unacceptable.
Jonathan, any thoughts on the?
Well, I was interrupted for a moment, but I wanted to say, I wonder if the phrase Yair is looking for is he's moving the goalposts. He is moving the goalpost of what would be considered success in Iran from regime change to maybe militarily debilitating the regime for a few years and maybe striking a deal to get a bit of the oil moving forward, but something less than total victory, which was claimed just a few weeks back.
It's not, I don't think, well, yeah, in a sense, yeah, but it's more like just making the goal itself undefined. And then like he might get the courage. That's what I think. I think basically by the things he said, by the nature of the thing he said, he wants to leave everything open. He wants to have a high morale, high support, and then whatever outcome will come, he say, yeah, I got what I want. So he's setting up the infrastructure for to do whatever. And I don't think that's a good thing. I think he should just be proud and say, listen, we're going to remove this regime. There's the Ayatollah dynasty is over, and we're going to give the Iranian people an infrastructure to start anew as a free society, as an ally of the Western world against the tyrannies, and not as a tyranny against the Western world and against its own people. And I don't expect it from Trump, yet I am still disappointed, because the disappointment is not, Trump is not my standard for this disappointment, is justice. Justice is my standard and the reason why I'm disappointed right now, because the war deserves justice. The American people deserve justice. The people of Israel deserve justice, and yeah, as well as the Iranian people, they deserve justice. And this is unjust. The Ayatollah regime remaining, even if weakened, even if without nukes, this is still a crime against justice to allow such a regime to exist, especially after it kidnapped 52 Americans and further down the line supported all these proxy organizations that kidnapped and murdered more Americans and Israelis and others. So the United States has a moral obligation for its people, and therefore it has a moral obligation to remove this regime. This is that simple. And the further away we move from explicitly saying that, the further away we move from doing it. because doing it is harder than saying. So if we're not even saying that, so what are we doing here?
Let's take a look more.
We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong. In the meantime, discussions are ongoing. Regime change was not our goal. We never said regime change, but regime change has occurred because of all of their original leaders' death. They're all dead. The new group is less radical and much more reasonable. Yet if during this period of time no deal is made, we have our eyes on key targets. If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously. We have not hit their oil, even though that's the easiest target of all, because it would not give them even a small chance of survival or rebuilding. But we could hit it, and it would be gone, and there's not a thing they could do about it. They have no anti-aircraft equipment. Their radar.
I mean, again, this is good, but what is it saying? So the regime change wasn't the goal, but we achieved it because we killed their leaders. What do you mean? One, the regime change should have been the goal. Two, simply killing the leaders is not a regime change. And also, like, this war started with us eliminating the leadership. So, like the first thing we did in like 5 minutes, the reason why we started this, right? We had a great opportunity to strike the Iranian leadership, right? That's why we started this war. At least was my understanding. So how was this unexpected outcome?
Yeah, so what I was saying earlier was basically relating to what he said right now. This is what I was relating to basically these sentences which I've heard yesterday. Regime change is not about a new Ayatollah taking over the old dead Ayatollah. In essence, this is not a regime change. This is the same regime. A regime change, in essence, means the Ayatollah dynasty is gone, and now there is a pro-Western government in Iran. This is the only acceptable regime change we should aspire to. And once again, like, by him saying that, he's basically keeping everything open for him. Yeah, he might just end the war altogether tomorrow, and the Ayatollah regime would remain and recover, and then in 5, 10, 20 years, we'll have China-backed Iran attacking the Middle East and Europe and the United States of America all over again. Not to mention its proxies benefiting from the remainment of this regime that will eventually keep funding them, so they can have morale and hope to stay with their head down until Iran will be strong enough again. So this is horrible. This is horrible in that sense. And as I mentioned before, good job for Trump for starting this operation. It takes a lot of courage. It takes some backbone, and it takes some idea of good and evil. So good job, and please finish the job. Please remove the Ayatollah regime. I don't care about, yeah, it's great, remove all the Ayatollahs one after the other, but don't let this chain continue after you're done. As long as they can appoint new Ayatollah, you haven't reached your goal, or you've set the wrong goals in the first place, one of the other. So we have to keep pushing forward and remove this regime altogether. There is no other acceptable option, especially since we were already so invested in it. It's like making all this effort and then just not doing what you've actually in essence came to do. It will be just a very bad. It wouldn't be an investment anymore. It would be some sort of a sacrifice. All the soldiers dying, all the damage to the economy. Israel is in a state of war. And it's a very pricey war. It's very costly in human life and for the economy and for the well-being of the Israelis. And it will be, in a sense, it will be in vain. We need to end this regime, and this is the opportunity, and we've paid so much for it. It will be devastating to end this with an Ayatollah regime still existed. And I remember how this disappointment feels, because this is what I've experienced after the 12-day war. I was like, what the hell? We were already in a state of war with Iran, like the most explicit state of war there is, active fighting. And we didn't finish them, even though we could have. So please, let's not make it into a tradition that every 7 or 8 months we go to this rodeo, paying these tremendous prices, and then just saying, okay, this regime can keep on existing, and we move on until the next round. It's time to end it.
Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean, just as I said, the fact, and I have to excuse myself for the afternoon, but the fact that Yar was in a bomb shelter this morning is evidence enough that this regime is not interested in peace. You know, a regime that was not interested in peace would wave the white flag, would say, you know, we want to open up, you know, peace with Israel, with you, with the Middle East. I mean, this is not what is the case. So, objective not achieved, despite valiant efforts by the U.S. and the Israeli military, and it starts at the top. So I hope that, you know, perhaps President Trump can listen to some of Dr. Brooks' lectures, listen to some of our podcasts, but listen to maybe perhaps Yar's book and realize that regime change is the only way for peace in the Middle East, and certainly peace from as in the president's own own words, the number one state sponsor of terror. So thanks to the supporters of the Ayn Rand Center UK, and you can find me at capitalistpig.com, and I'll see you once again tomorrow here on the program. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Jonathan, for joining us. We have 2 more minutes of the speech.
Is 100% annihilated. We are unstoppable as a military force. The nuclear sites that we obliterated with the B-2 bombers have been hit so hard that it would take months to get near the nuclear dust, and we have it under intense satellite surveillance and control. If we see them make a move, even a move for it, we'll hit them with missiles very hard again. We have all the cards, they have none. It's very important that we keep this conflict in perspective. American involvement in World War I lasted 1 year, 7 months, and 5 days. World War II lasted for 3 years, 8 months, and 25 days. The Korean War lasted for 3 years, 1 month, and 2 days. The Vietnam War lasted for 19 years, 5 months, and 29 days. Iraq went on for 8 years, 8 months, and 28 days. We are in this military operation, so powerful, so brilliant, against one of the most powerful countries for 32 days. And the country has been eviscerated and essentially is really no longer a threat. They were the bully of the Middle East, but they're the bully no longer. This is a true investment in your children and your grandchildren's future. The whole world is watching, and they can't leave the power, strength, and brilliance. They just can't believe what they're seeing. They leave it to your imagination, but they can't believe what they're seeing, the brilliance of the United States military. Tonight, every American can look forward to a day when we are finally free from the wickedness of Iranian aggression and the specter of nuclear blackmail. Because of the actions we have taken, we are on the cusp of ending Iran's sinister threat to America and the world. And I'll tell you, the world is watching. And when we do, when it's all over, the United States will be safer, stronger, more prosperous, and greater than it has ever been before. May God bless the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much, and good night.
Okay, I was a little bit surprised that he didn't take any questions, but I think this was a decent wrap up to the speech. One, saying, I mean, the way he delivered the phrase, "We are at this war with Iran at 32 days." Like, guys, chill. And we are insanely destroying Iran. I mean, it's people don't realize how brutally we are. A concept that we might talk about when we talk about clavicular, how we are mogging Iran, completely getting over them. Yeah, any thoughts on the end of the speech?
He's basically, setting the ground for another 2 to 3 weeks of this campaign. Hopefully, we do what it takes. We'll get the moral courage to hit them harder than we've hit so far. And we've done brilliant things. We've made an attack on a special attack on their electricity network, so their missile facilities will go on their generators, so they'll open the vents, and then we've attacked them through the vents and did all kind of amazing things. But you don't need to use all these smart bombs and special equipment. You can use you control the airspace. You can take a B-52, load it up with some very heavy bombs, destroy their infrastructure, leave them with no water and no electricity in a way that is non-recoverable, and keep doing that until they wave the white flag. Because they haven't done it thus far, and they have been attacking Israel. And this is unacceptable, and they should be paying the price for it until they surrender. And we're avoiding that. Both the US and Israel are avoiding that because I guess Israel cares more about the Iranian people rather than its own people, and America as well. We'd rather keep them comfy rather than just end this regime and end this war and go back to normal and go back to living a good life and then having the chance to rebuild themselves. So this is my main and essential point of criticism, and it keeps rising up in the context of that speech, because it's in every word basically. This thing, this essential lies there, and it's really bad.
Yeah, so for me overall, especially when I compare it to early speech, what I do like about it is the fact that it is saying we will continue do this until we achieve our goals, and we will continue right now for few weeks. And again, like 3 weeks, a lot can happen, and he can come back and say we will continue going further. Although at that point he would need some authorization from Congress, since the 60 days would be up. I think at this point he only has 4 weeks, at which point he will have to go to Congress. So that is an important part that has to be considered. Going to the news, I think there's been another update on the bridge in Iran. So it was targeted to sever military supply routes. Of course, makes sense. What else is there?
I have something to say.
Sure.
So a day or two ago, a fuel oil tanker owned by Qatar was hit by Iranian missile in Qatari territorial waters. Now there has been no casualties, no Qatari was harmed, and my theory is this is actually a coordinated action between Qatar and Iran. And let me tell you my point of view regarding that and why I have reached that conclusion. Before that, I have a question from the chat. Why not send ground troops? I don't think it's necessary. Like, if I would have done the war plan, it would be just like, bring Iran into a state of collapse, like in a sense that they could not eat, they could not drink, they could not sleep, they could not have power. And then they'd wave the white flag. And once they're waving the white flag, we can set the terms for them surrendering unconditionally, so they can, stop the situation in which they're starving and dying altogether. And then we can just force a constitution that is a proper constitution that will keep the people free, and then the Iranians will rebuild themselves to a free society. So there is no need for boots on the ground, no need to risk anyone's soldiers here. Now I'll go back to my point on Qatar. So basically, 2 days ago or 1 day ago, there was this hit on the Qatari tanker. No one was injured, and I think this was like some sort of a cooperation between Qatar and Iran, and I'll explain. So a week ago or a little bit more, it was the latest, most the latest military action from Iran against Qatar that led to the death of Qataris. So let's say 7 or 8 days ago, there was a Qatari helicopter chasing Iranian some sort of flying object. It could be a drone or some missile or whatever. And this helicopter crashed, and 6 people died, within them Qataris and Turkish, probably military personnel. Around that time, a former Qatari prime minister has basically sent an open letter to Iran on X, and he basically wrote, like, you gotta stop attacking us. We need to join forces against the common enemy. And he was relating to Israel, like basically saying, why are you shooting us? We should be together working to fight our enemy, which is Israel. Since there has been an assessment, it is, don't take it with a grain of salt, but there has been a report that Qatar has basically bribed Iran, so Iran would not attack Qatar. Ever since, Qatar, on their public official messages, they blame Israel for the war, and they show their concern for the rise of energy prices, which is basically they're building a narrative, A, to end this war with Iran still existing, and 2, to use this war to blame Israel for everything, as they always do. Now let's talk about this event, the one where Iran attacked a Qatari vessel. One, no one in Qatar was injured, and 2, this is a classic event to raise energy prices, to raise concern in the market, which will raise energy prices. So I think this is something that they've been working on together, and the purpose is, 1, to make it seem as if Qatar is not cooperating with Iran and is not playing on Iran's side and is not trying to make Iran come out with the upper hand in this war or return to normal, as if Qatar is some sort of a neutral, people in this war. And 2nd, it helps Qatar and Iran promote their joint narrative that this war is not good for the market, and therefore should be ended immediately. So I'm telling everyone, open an eye on Qatar. They're playing a very dirty game here. I call them a political horse, because even though they have been attacked by Iran, they have still chose to cooperate with this country, just so they'd be able to keep using it in the day after to inflict damage on the Middle East and the world, because Iran is basically helping Qatar be this middleman, and then a supposed ally of the West while they work against it. So the Qataris know that once Iran is going down, they're going to lose their status. And I think Qatar is on its way down. If we will beat Iran and the regime will fall and Iran will become a free state, Qatar is going down right after it, because the main source of its power is its supposed help to the war to maintain Iran. If this will no longer be necessary, I don't see a reason for Qatar to enjoy such cooperation, and especially military cooperation from the Western world. I remind you all, the United States has military presence in Qatar. And one more thing. No, I forgot. I had another point, but I forgot it. So it must not be that important.
So my view on that, it would be, this would be an incredible gamble from Qatar, which again might make sense if what you're saying is true, that once Iran falls, that's it for Qatar as well, which I think definitely can be true, especially since what we're seeing with even the Strait of Hormuz is a lot of the Gulf states are rethinking about their oil going through some other routes. If we manage to bring down the oil that goes through the Strait of Hormuz, that also removes Iranian ability to threaten that. So I think it's an incredibly risky strategy, I think, which might be true if, again, what you're saying is true when it comes to the fall of Iran.
By the way, Qatar is very heavily, mixed up with American officials. And Pam Bondi was a Qatari lobbyist until she came into office. And the fact that Trump is now firing Bondi might have something to do with Qatar.
And
if this
also,
is true,
firing Tucker.
Exactly. If it is true. If my conclusion is true, my assumption that Trump is trying to clean up all of these high-ranking and executives and strong people linked to Qatar, if he's trying to get rid of them for that reason, it might imply that Trump is understanding what Qatar is doing and trying to build an infrastructure to disconnect from Qatar, because as of now, the cooperation between the United States of America and Qatar is unfortunately very close. If this is what's going on, hats off for Trump. If he'll manage to disconnect between Qatar and America and the West, and Qatar will return to its suitable place, which is an isolated dictatorship that is about to collapse. Hopefully, if this is the case, this will be a great development for the free world.
Yeah, so once Witkoff gets fired, we can definitely get back on track with this hypothesis. Okay, anything else you'd like to bring up before we go to the last segment? And we'll also go members only. So, and if depends if you're staying for the last segment.
I as of now I have time, but I might have to leave soon, so I'm gonna try to stick as much as I can. We can move on with the content.
All right, so let me give a reminder to people that we will be going members only in a little bit, in a few minutes. This is something we'll try. We want to see if we can try. Basically, the way this is going to work is majority of the live stream will be available to everybody, and then the last segment, usually something very unique, something maybe controversial, will be for YouTube members only. So with that, I'm not sure how exactly this works, so I'm not sure what exactly is going to happen to people, but let's see. We are switching to members only, and now we should be members only. So let's see what exactly will happen, if people will have to sort of like tune in again, or what exactly will happen. But with that, let's go to the next segment, which is again clavicular. So ER, how familiar are you with this person? Because
I don't think I know who this person is.
Okay, how familiar are you with the concept of of looksmaxing? All right, so this will be very educational also for ER. So looksmaxing, I think it's a term that was originally developed on 4chan and has sort of like gotten more prominence recently. The basic idea of looksmaxing is you just try to make yourself look better. It might mean, sort of there's like a soft looksmaxing, which is something like, you start properly taking care of your hair, you start dressing up properly, you start taking care, of your face, those are sort of like the best, maybe take care of your posture, work out more, that's like the basic idea. And there's the sort of hardcore looksmaxing, which might be something like, taking steroids or taking hormones, some like crazy stuff, that kind of thing to like, I think there is some allegation about this specific influencer that he like takes meth to basically reduce his appetite, to like keep his weight down, or even to like keep a certain appearance. So yeah, there's like different ways to take it, and we'll go through a couple of clips, and I'll explain why I was interested in going through that. First thing I would also say, are you familiar with Brian Johnson, for example? So he's I'm sure you've seen at least clips from him. He's like the guy who tries to live forever, who is like tracking all of his vitals, taking all the necessary supplements, and like trying to set up his whole lifestyle around basically living forever, right? And so we'll start with him just a little bit to put concept, because generally I like the idea of Brian Johnson. To me it's interesting with somebody who's again, the purpose of life shouldn't just be to live forever. You should try to attain values, But at least from his perspective, living forever seems to be like this kind of value that he basically wants to pursue. Look into human biology.
No, this makes sense because life is in essence a self-sustaining process. It's about, keeping yourself alive by getting what you need, your material needs and your psychological needs. So in essence, it is very rational to strive to live as long as you can, while maintaining your needs.
Yeah, that's what I would say, and I think it's and so I like him, but a lot of the response you see from generally the public about Brian Johnson is like, oh, how funny would it be if he like tries to live forever and he gets run over by a car, or like, oh, this is pointless, or he gets a lot of hate for what he's trying to do, and I think it speaks to sort of the culture. And the way I think we generally look at people who try to genuinely achieve certain values. There's so much cynicism. There's so much, I don't know what to even call it, but so much. I guess skepticism around selfish people, because like there is nothing altruistic you can tell about a person who wants to live forever, right? There's no altruistic way to explain it outside of some weird, I'll live forever so I can help people or something like that. But no, it's hard to convince people that you're being altruistic by wanting to live. So I think that's the response, the automatic response, the sort of sense of life response a lot of people have to people like Brian Johnson. Okay, anything more on that, or we will switch to Clavicular, specifically go to a couple of his clips. Okay, you good with that? All right, let's.
Yeah, let's go. I was waiting to see the clips.
All right, so let's take a look at the clip. This was from Channel 5, and we'll take a look. Maybe we'll pause it, but. So this is Clavicular.
I think people probably want to learn about you, and that was what I was trying to give you the opportunity to do.
Well, no, I think that's totally fair, and that's I applaud you for that. But not one, question about lux maxing.
There's been so many questions about lux maxing. I probably asked you about lux maxing like 40 times. I just don't know the specific science.
Could you
I'm not
pause
in the
one moment?
community.
Okay.
Yep.
We switch the guy with the brown suit for a moment. Just
Sure.
pause on him. This is disrespecting lux maxing. Wearing, buttoning down a suit while sitting down, wearing sports shoes or sneakers with his pants in almost a skinny form. This is disrespecting for tailoring. And this is like I don't call it, if this is in the context of lux maxing, it should be more like, referred to as, try harding. Like he's trying very hard, but he's not doing it right. At least the guy on the right. Just saying.
So this guy is the interviewer.
Yeah.
He
should respect the context of the conversation and not dress up like a goddamn buffoon.
Well, it looks like that's the problem Clavicular is bringing up, right? The fact that he's and again, maybe just a little bit of context for Clavicular. By the way, apparently, I think a couple days ago or a few days ago, he has been arrested for, I think, assault or something like that. So again, ignore that. Like, I want to talk about sort of
the interview or the
guy we talk about, Clavicular, the influencer.
The lux maxing. He was also violence maxing.
Yeah. So again, try to ignore that with like the rest of the context, because I don't necessarily want to talk him about a person rather than sort of his ideas and his sort of perspective that he's trying to put out there, which I think is interesting, and sort of what people respond to, because it's like easy to jump on, look, he's like violent, which bad, by the way. I haven't followed the story, but again, don't beat up people, or whatever he was arrested for. But let's
or whatever the creature was.
Yeah.
Community.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, if you were to ask about like something in regards to hair loss, like there's really nothing.
Yeah, sure. Hair loss.
You see what I mean?
You're telling me what to, you're trying to
I'm
get
telling
me
you
to.
what to ask. So when you wake up every single morning and you take a look in the mirror, you're 100% satisfied with every single thing. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay, dude. All right. Well,
So I think this is the first part. There's almost like clashes of two philosophies. Almost like there's the interviewer has, I don't know what you want to call it, but maybe maybe like, I mean, I can only call it like leftist. But this idea that like, no, there is a subjectivism, right? It's no matter what you are, that's good. Whatever you think is good, that's good. There are no like, again, there is no problem with, I think, recognizing that you have shortcomings, that it doesn't diminish automatically, how you view yourself, but telling yourself, hey, I can actually improve in many things. And me, by the way, I think it should be clear who is the looks maxing guy. I don't know about you people, but there's clearly one who is, I would even say, better dressed, and has better posture, and even the way he talks and the way he acts. But yeah, the looks maxing guy, Clavicular, is the guy on the left. I think he's the guy in the white shirt. But it's interesting how he asks him, like, so when you look at yourself, is there nothing you wanna improve in your life? And the answer is like, no, there is nothing. And Clavicular answers like, okay, like, what is there to talk about? And again, he says, look yourself in the mirror, because I can look at the interviewer. He has some like stuff on his face. I don't know if it's like acne or something like that. But again, that's something you can fix. And don't tell me that, you don't consider that as like bad thing, right? I think every person can recognize when they look bad. And I think everybody should want to sort of try to excel at what they do or how they look. I think that's part of it. Because again,
Yeah, but
how
I
you
don't
look-
like I don't like the looks maxing guy attitude. First his question and then his reaction to the answer. So the question is like, oh, when you look in the mirror, are you 100% satisfied with who you are and think you are like the most perfect human being ever seen in the world?
No,
And-
he
and
didn't
this
say
is
that.
the-
Come on.
Well, in essence, he said, do you think you like the best 100% version of yourself? You reached the top. And the guy is like, embarrassing the other guys, like, saying, well, yeah. And then the looks maxing guys like laughing at him for giving that answer. And I think this is like, there is a good essence in the viewpoint of, caring about aesthetics and striving to better yourself. But this ridiculous view of, strive to be omnipotent or strive to look 100% perfect, zero flaws in a way that is not possible is ridiculous. You should strive to look good. You should strive to be healthy. You should strive to be life promoting in your values, in your action, and yes, in your looks as well. But this is impossible to be 100% without any physical things that are not perfect in your appearance. And the appearance should be judged within the context of you living life. When you go out in the street, it could be today has been a very dusty day in Israel. There's been a lot of dust particles in the air, so it made my appearance not perfect. I had some dust particles on me. Well, what does it mean? Does it mean that I'm not striving to live my life? Does it mean that I'm not taking care of myself? No, of course not. When you go out in the street, you pay the price of having imperfections land on you from society. Your body is not perfect in a sense that it's not 100% goes with an objective standard of beauty in every aspect of it. Your atoms are not 100% organized. You should be striving to have the look of a man of integrity, of a man of harmony, of balance, of beauty. And this doesn't mean that you have to be 100% perfect and strive to be omnipotent. It is impossible for man to be omnipotent, which means capable of everything. The guy, the looks maxing guy, laughing at the other guy for being satisfied with himself, it's mostly bad behavior for the looks maxing guy. It teaches me about this looks maxing guy, which is that in a sense by behaving in such a way, he's making himself kind of pathetic, at least to me. And I'm saying this as a guy who loves aesthetics. I'm saying it as a guy who takes care of himself, wears a suit all the time, likes to groom himself, likes to look good, likes to take care of himself. Yet this looks maxing guy, his attitude honestly makes me cringe.
So again, I think you are, I would say, overstepping a little bit because you haven't seen much from this guy. And again, this is not necessarily a defense of Clavicular. I want to explore it. But I mentioned subjectivism at the start, that I think that's what the interviewer is at least portraying, that, or at least, again, if we take his answer at face value, that he is truly satisfied with everything he is. Because I think that's, to me at least, that's...
Let's repeat the question and the answer.
I wanna finish that because I think that's at least can stem from subjectivism, and of course what the answer to subjectivism oftentimes is, which is also wrong, is intrinsicism, right? That's the idea of perfection. That's the idea, or I think a wrong concept of perfection, because perfection, if it is to mean something, cannot mean omnipotence. A perfect human is not omnipotent because that's not possible. For this, I would recommend checking out Leonard Peikoff on perfection. I think it was on a radio show or a Q&A, where he talks about, no, perfection stems from the context of you as a human. It's, are you being perfect in sort of human context means you are striving for being morally good or striving for your best. A human that strives for his best is perfect. That's what actually perfection means in the human context. So even with let's say with how you look, perfection means you are trying to sort of present or be the best version of yourself you can be. That's what perfection is. It doesn't necessarily mean not having any problems or not having any blemishes on your skin or something like that, not having any any problems. That's an intrinsic view of perfection.
Yeah, but I'm not convinced the looks maxing guy sees it.
Probably
sees it. No, not even. No, of course he's not. But I'm saying I don't think he looks at perfection in this way.
Yeah.
This is the impression I have. He is not. First, like, a perfect moral character is a character that is, not evading, not compromising, choosing the right thing, being rational. But this is true. It is possible, and it is an ideal, an accomplishable ideal for a man to be morally perfect. But having a perfect look is something different than having a perfect moral character. And when he's talking about a perfect look, he's taking it, I think he's leaning more towards an intrinsic kind of perfect. And this is my criticism, A, on that, and two, on the attitude. And once again, and I learned this attitude from the nature of the question and his reaction to the answer.
Yeah, although I'm not sure if I would say that perfect, because I don't know why it would be different for moral character and visual character for perfection to mean something different. Like, if perfection in visual is unattainable, I don't necessarily see the why. I don't see that as a useful concept.
Because moral behavior is in the context of, let's say, a somewhat free society, moral behavior is 100% up to you. Moral perfection is about you making the proper volitional choice every time you have to. Which is, the perfect example for moral perfection is Howard Rourke. He does make mistakes and errors, but these are errors of knowledge. He does not make any moral errors. He always acts morally. He doesn't give in to temptations. He doesn't lie to himself. He's trying to figure out the world around him and act accordingly. A perfection in your appearance is not always dependent of you, and the looks maxing guy basically says, well, he does. His point is, well, you can, I don't know, I guess, in a sense, take steroids, go under public, surgeries, do whatever, so your appearance would be the closest to the intrinsic beauty. This is how I see his interpretation, according to what I've heard. And I disagree with that. I think you should strive for objective beauty. You should strive to look the best you can within reason and within the context of your life. And you should not, for example, give up rational values for the sake of looking 5% better, for example. And I think the looks maxing guy, by the nature of the definition of looks maxing, thinks differently.
Sure. Again, I don't want this to be necessarily. I think fundamentally clavicular is representing the intrinsic side of beauty. But can you give me an example of, like, let's say, something about your appearance that you cannot change, and therefore, let's say, makes you.
I'd rather be taller, for example. And there have been people that went to like surgery, I think in Turkey, like disconnecting the bones of the legs, like putting some metal devices in there so the bone would grow to the missing part and you'd be taller. I would never ever do such a thing. Although I think I'd be way more of a handsome man as if I were taller. I'm quite of an average height. I would never do such a thing for me. And if I would strive for intrinsic perfection, say every man should be at least 180 centimeters height, and I have to do everything in my power to get to this intrinsic perfect height.
But we are not talking about intrinsic view of beauty. We are talking about objective view of beauty.
Exactly. So I gave it as a negative example. So
sure.
An objective view is, okay, I care about my health, I care about my money, I care about my well-being and my comfort, and I want to live a rational life, and I find it irrational to go for an expensive surgery with a difficult process of recovery to try and alter a property of you that is quite, you got it. I got it from nature, shall I say?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think, wouldn't that imply that objective beauty is also contextual? That it also pertains.
Objective beauty is contextual, and it is about harmony. It is about integration. It is about thriving for life. It is a life-affirming look. It is about basically one's sense of life. It is about anything. And if I have had a different character, and it has deeper how should I say, implications rooted deep inside my character, inside who I am, inside my soul, I thought it was different. I would have dressed up in a different style and take care of me in a different way, and it would have still, if I have had integrity within that process, let's say, as I have right now, it would have been a different look. Yet it would have been objectively beautiful and good looking. Yeah, in a sense. So
yeah, that's the point I was basically making.
And the thing about objective is that you take into account the nature of your consciousness and the nature of reality outside of you, and you reach to that perfect point of balance of you adhere to the reality outside of you, and you express yourself. You have your will, which is yours. You build it. You build your character, but this will taken into account the outside world and the facts of reality and your needs, your objective needs for life. So in this sense, as of now, I feel I'm convinced I am committed to objective beauty, but I would never go to the philosophy of looks maxing. And as I said, in essence, when you look at it, when you try to judge it, it's like people taking the idea of objective beauty, switching it into the intrinsic realm, and as a result, as adding a lot of cringe to this beautiful process of taking care of the aesthetics in your life, which is also the aesthetics of your life is a huge thing. Is the way you live your life, is the way you decor your house, is the art you consume, is the way you dress, is the things you do, and the way you do it. It is the style you have, the most smallest ways you act and react to things, and you should strive to do it in the best way that is, the best demonstration of yourself. And you should do it for the sake of yourself as an end of itself. it's aesthetics and beauty is not about impressing other people or fitting to a norm or blending in with society. Aesthetics is about you living life as the best version of yourself within context and within objectivity.
Yeah, and basically that's what I meant when I'm talking about like visual perfection. It is still objective. It is still within your context. I think somebody in the chat brought up that when I went bald, I accepted being bald and just started shaving my dome. And I think that's the contextual thing, right? It's, you know, if there is some, like you say, you maybe are not, you know, you are born with certain height. You are born in with certain genes, even when it comes to, let's say, your muscles, right? Your how, you know, maybe your biceps will turn out, how well you can get toned, or those things. Those are all contextual and should be taken into account when it comes to, you know, developing your own, you know, same like developing your own knowledge skills, or different skills, or your moral, your achieving of values. I think the same can apply to your visual aspects. And the Bonnie brings up the mind-body dichotomy, and I think that's what happened with the, I don't know, last decades of like Hollywood, right? It's not what the outside that matters, it's only on the inside. And it's like, well, that's a mind-body dichotomy you have there. There is no reason why a moral character shouldn't look good, and why, you know, just because you look good, you know, maybe you have a lower chances of being a moral character. So yeah, we are attacking the mind-body dichotomy here. Do you wanna finish this one? It's 30 more seconds.
Yes, please.
I guess that's just, if you want to be completely disingenuous, that's fine with me. I guess there's just no point to continue.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, guys. No worries. Yeah, no, everything's fine. We're all good. Yeah.
All right, so basically he ended the interview. Of course, the interview was a bit longer. This was just one clip. And I think the other interviewer wasn't really that interested. I mean, I know it's kind of hard to, somebody says they are into Luxmaxing and to take them seriously and ask them questions. But I think, I don't know if we will play more stuff from Clavicular.
No, he just came and dissed the interviewer and ended the interview after like mocking the interviewer. It's like a complete act of disrespect.
Again, I would defend.
He could have told him, okay, you think you think you look perfect. Well, I don't, because ABC. But he just laughed at him and ended the interview. Like, for real, this is like cringe, low self-esteem kind of behavior. For real, this is how I see it.
I mean, again, I would at least a little bit defend it, because again, like the interviewer had something fucked up on his face, right? Had some acne or whatever, which again might not be fully in your control, but you can at least work on it. And I think when he says there is nothing you would want to improve of yourself, I think, as Clavicular said, it's disingenuous. Like, you're not really engaging with the conversation, and I don't want to engage in that type of conversation. So I think at least that's how I take it. Now there has been some other. Well, we do have one more clip from this interview if you wanna watch this one as well,
Sure.
which I think might be even more controversial, because I think the intrinsic versus subjectivist point of views clash even more in this one.
The value there. I mean,
And engaging with people in real life.
yeah, I mean, there's really not that many people that are worth interacting with, I would say.
What do you mean?
Like, most people are extremely jester,
Like they're funny, or like they're just like,
just have completely misprioritized lives. I would say the average person that you meet who's like an enjoyer of sports, who drinks beer, for example, you know, let's go have a beer at the pub and watch Sunday football. Like, that's the worst thing that you could do. Like, you should be on PubMed reading various different studies on how you could Luxmax.
You don't think there's any value in like social interactions with people?
I wouldn't say people in general. I'd say that there's certain people that you could certainly learn from, but the average person that you encounter is literally like lidaring watching like a baseball game.
So you think most of humanity is sort of like enslaved to these consumer habits that prevent them from ascending?
Yeah, I would say that's correct. What's the value there?
Okay, I have some thoughts, but yeah, first you go.
This guy, his view is basically, well, my values are objectively the most important thing in the world. So his values is looks maxing. And then his logical conclusion is like, okay, if somebody's going out, hanging out, drinking a beer, living his life, dating a good-looking woman, eating cereals, doing anything that he doesn't seem as perfect, he's like, oh my God, he's doing that, and he's not focused on looks maxing, and he's not going researching looks maxing. And then, like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, this is such a childish view of the world. It's like a kid with a disorder that makes him like, fixated on dinosaurs, and he's like playing with the dinosaur all day. And, like, this is not Tyrannosaurus Rex, and this is that. And then he sees a person who doesn't tell the difference between the different kind of species of dinosaur, and he's like, what? You did not invest your whole life understanding the difference between all these creatures? You're so lame. Like, what the hell is he talking about? This is, oh my God. I was stopping myself from laughing out loud when I heard what he said about people going to drink a beer instead of looks maxing. This is deranged. Like, this is wow. And once again, I am a guy who really likes to like fashion aesthetics, taking care of himself, doing it. I tell to people to dress up, but like to see people living in such a level of delusion is wow. I'm having cringe pain here from watching this guy.
And I am going to defend him again. Because, well, he has obviously, his answer is intrinsicism. He sees subjectivism in other people, which again, when it comes to, what are the points he brought up? Like people not having priorities in their values, people not having, just sort of like drifting. Now I'm putting a lot of concepts in his mind or in his mouth. But yeah, basically not pursuing their values. I think when he brings up the sort of going to have a beer to like watch sports, I think he views it from that sort of like drifting perspective, just like not really focusing on anything you want to do, just sort of doing random things. His answer is wrong. It's intrinsicism.
The funny thing is that he doesn't say people should go find out their own values and go after them.
Because he's not
people should go. He's saying people should go after what I see as valuable.
Because he's an intrinsicist. Because he doesn't.
Yeah, but he's an intrinsicist, but in a sense that like the authority for knowledge is whatever he thinks is right. So if he likes something, if he thinks something is good for himself, so that's 100% correct for all humanity. If he decides he should be fixated,
intrinsicism is, right?
No, yeah, exactly. And I'm just saying it's cringe. Like he has his obsession, so everybody should have his obsession. This is, and the thing is, like, he goes around like a peacock with his tail all around, like, telling people, oh, you're going out drinking instead of looks maxing. Once again, this is wow, like it's like a Dunning-Kruger, like people being proud of their stupidity, thinking they're geniuses.
Yeah, and here's what's interesting. Like this guy, this is Jordan Peterson. This is like the Stoics. This is what they stand for. This is intrinsicism. Like, and ER is laughing because it is being put up in the most ridiculous way. But this is what actually intrinsicism stands for, right? It's saying that objectives are not, values are not personal. They're not objective. But they reject the subjectivism, right? They reject the subjectivism of like whatever you want to do is okay. Because that's not what objectivism says, right? Objectivism or philosophy that is life-affirming doesn't say do whatever you want, it's proper. No, it's do things that are actually life-affirming, that are actually contributing to your happiness, contributing to your development of moral character. While the intrinsicist answer, they say, no, subjectivists are wrong because there are values but they are intrinsic. They are God-given in terms of when it comes to religions, or they are biological. I mean, that's usually what the other answer is when it comes to not religion, right? It's whatever. I mean, that's Jordan Peterson, right? For him, it's all biology, it's all evolution, and that's
Yeah,
where values are from.
basically it's eventually the rejection of reason. So people look at men as if they're animals, that they should just, like, they have this innate supposed knowledge of what's good. They should just look inside, find out what it is, and then go chase it. Rather than people having reason, they have the ability to look out, use their mind, figure out what's going on, and act accordingly. Rather than just looking inside and finding the innate true in them, or in God, or in the collective, or whatever. Objective views in epistemology and in ethics is about, you look outside to see the world, you look inside to learn about yourself, you integrate, you figure out who you are, you figure out where you are, you figure out what is the context and what are the facts and what is the causal relationship between everything. And you put it in a normative context to find out what to strive for and what's your goal and how to get it. It's not that hard once you understand it. Once you refuse to evade reality, once you refuse to look for this intrinsic view somewhere other than just looking at reality and use your mind. That's what it's all about.
Bonnie in the chat is asking, so is looks maxing good, bad, or interesting because we can learn from it? What do we learn from it? I think what is interesting oftentimes is the reaction, because again, I think looks maxing, or at least the way people talk about it, is very intrinsic. But the answer to it, of course, is not objectivism. The answer to, or the cultural answer to it, is subjectivism. You should do whatever you want. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. While the proper answer is, of course, you should pursue your values. Now, I think there are, or when it comes to health, when it comes to something like working out, I think that is something that it's pretty close to being like an objective value, or again, it has to be contextual. But I'm having a hard time to like come up with somebody who wouldn't benefit from, going on walks, or making sure they move their body, or not, just staying inside all day. Since there is just so much like health benefits, right? Which again, having a good life, not being ill, is a value. Just quickly, Salome in the chat said, removing scars is indeed fairly easy nowadays. I've had it done, though I was told the scars were really minor. Totally subjective. I wouldn't say subjective. I would say personal, right? It's you might have some scars. I have, I don't know about you, Yara, but I have some stretch marks because at one time I gained a lot of weight very fast, and I don't like the way they look. But thankfully they are mainly around my biceps, so I'm hoping by the time I start, I'm working out, so by the time I get a lot of muscles, it will look like the stretch marks are, because I'm so buff and so lean. So I hope they'll keep for that.
Take care of yourself. Invest in yourself. Work out, dress up, fix your hair, brush your teeth. Do whatever good for you, and do it from the position of knowledge. You know who you are, you know what's good for you, and you strive for living a good life. You want to live good, you want to look good, you want to take the proper decisions, you want to stand up for yourself, you want to be proud of yourself, and move forward in life. Achieve your goals, including your aesthetic goals. Life is good. Life is good. You can be very happy living life. You just need to take care of yourself. You use your mind, and just don't evade reality. And sometimes there will be things that are hard to do, but if you put your mind into it and you invested in the thought, and you thought about it properly, and you've made up your mind, you know what's good for you, and you should strive for it, even if it has prices. Of course, within reason and within the context. Don't sacrifice better things for your whims. Don't be fixated to some intrinsic view of whatever and sacrifice everything else for it. Do it within reason.
Yeah, and By the way, question for you, although I don't know if you answer. How much do you usually pay for like a suit? Because I've been like I've been trying to research, because I wanna get like
Yeah.
let's say a bit more proper suit that is actually tailored, or at least to some extent, or at least I think there is like the middle way, like I don't know what they call it, but sort of like it's not tailored completely, but sort of like adapted or something. And I'm kind of surprised by the prices.
So my most expensive suit is around $400 to $500. I haven't
Okay,
went to a tailor.
yeah, that's less expensive than I have. What's happening in Israel? Is it like cheap to get a
No,
suit?
it's from I bought it from Spear and McKay. It's off the shelf suit. You buy it in regular suit size, and then I got it altered in Israel, and the whole thing costed between $400 and $500. It is a 110 super merino wool, I think, a very nice suit. But most of my suits are not within that price range. My cheapest suit, well, besides the suit I got for free as a gift, my cheapest suit was, let's say, 120 shekels, which is like 20, $30 from a store. It was like in an outlet, and it's a very nice suit that they basically, it's a nice suit jacket and fitting trousers. But the trousers, it was actually an abomination. I fixed the trousers had no belt loops, and it has two laces. It's like a trousers that they fitted laces within as if it's a training, but it's like it's a perfect suit besides that. So I fixed it up. I removed the laces, and I took it to a tailor to fix it up for me, and I've sewn buttons for it for braces. So I now have a perfect suit for braces because you don't need belt loops if you wear it with braces. So this is actually a suit I like very much, and I got it for a wicked low price because originally it was an abomination of a suit, but I took it over and I fixed it. But and then I have some second-hand suit like this suit. I bought it from an individual.
Well,
I'll talk about it in
just
previous
quickly,
shows.
when you say suit, do you mean a jacket and pants, or jacket and pants and vest?
When I say suit, I refer to at least a jacket and matching trousers. This in particular is a three-piece suit. This is the Super Chet suit with the vest, which I have right here. So this suit with the wonderful vest, I bought, as I said, I think for around 120 shekels, which is like $40 with all the tailoring and everything. It was a little bit more probably. And this is a wonderful suit. It's made out of wool. It has a very nice drape for it, very nice silhouette. But as I said, most, and I have some other. I have another one. Let me show it actually. Let's see. Where is it? Okay, here it is. So this is a beautiful vintage double-breasted suit with peak lapels. Look at these beautiful lapels. I look at it and I it excites me. Okay, look at these beautiful peak lapels. Now this is quite close. It will be more open when I wear it. Like, it will have presence. Beautiful double-breasted, suit, the whole thing vintage. I think it costed me like 80 euros from a special store for such suits, vintage suits. But the price is not the primary and the essential thing about clothing. The price is, I have many suits that I could have paid way more for it if the price were higher, and it would have still be a great deal, still be a bargain. It's about the value the suits give you. It could be a good investment. It could be a horrible investment if you don't like wearing suits. It depends on who you are and what you want to do.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've been basically specifically looking at one store in Slovakia, and so far my plan is to, on my birthday, go and get some good suit. And they have a deal 1+1, so you get two
When you
suits.
come to Israel, I'll get you to buy a proper suit. in a relatively low price. It's a store where they give you a suit off the shelf, and then they do all the repairing and matching it to you perfectly, all within a reasonable price. Now the fabric is not the best fabric in the world. It's a mixture of wool and a little bit of the synthetic fabric, but it is
So
in return you get a suit
Yeah.
not very expensive. This one, all the suits I've shown you tonight are 100% wool.
The one store I've been checking, it looks like it's also like 80% wool, 7%. I don't know how to translate acrylic. That's in English, right? Okay, never mind. But yeah,
Let me show you another suit. So this is one of my oldest suits. It's a 3-piece suit. So you have this suit jacket, the vest, and of course the matching trousers. Now the thing about this suit is that this one in particular is not made of any special fabric. I'm sure it's like a mixture of all the synthetics and stuff like that. But this is still a beautiful suit. Very nice 3-piece suits that I like very much, even though it's not like 100% wool. So you can get some really good things. But of course, if you want to have a high quality wool, you have to. It's gonna be more expensive unless you find a good deal, secondhand.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was thinking about my birthday to go and get a maid suit. Basically, I have something upcoming in June, so I have to get something for. If maybe I could just go and get it in Israel. Get some of your thoughts on that. But by then, I think the war would at least have to end, or something would have to happen so that actually flights are available again. Although I'm worried that probably flights might be expensive for some time.
I want to send you an image from Passover when I was on my way to the Passover dinner, to the Seder, and there was a missile attack and I got stuck in a shelter. So I have this picture taken of me. Give me one moment. Yes, perfect. So here you can share this image. So this is with the suit. I was demonstrating the suit that was wrapped up. So this is me wearing it in the shelter. And we got into this random place because it was me, my wife, and her mother, and we were like going to this random office because there was like a missile on our way. Can you zoom in on the
I don't think
on the
I can zoom
upper part of it,
I
or is
would
it too
have-
complicated?
I think I can do it. I just have to do it differently.
Oh wait, I think I can't hear you. I'm gonna refresh the page.
Oh boy. There we go.
Yeah, so you can
what did
see
you
the.
mention?
I wanted to show the lapels. I'm a big fan of big lapels, so I just wanted to demonstrate it again.
I don't. You need to lick smacks on your camera.
It wasn't mine,
Yeah.
but you get the hang of it.
Yep. You need to camera max. All right. Any last thoughts on clavicular or anything else we've talked about? Well, specifically this part is again members only. So the people who are here are all big supporters of ARC UK.
So I want to use this opportunity to say thank you for all of the Ayn Rand Center UK supporters, and to whomever greets me on the chat when I arrive. It's always nice to see it, and it's a really good feeling. And I appreciate you all very much. This is a philosophy worth supporting and promoting. So it's really nice, and it gives hope to see people, investing in this channel and in the philosophy in general.
Yeah, and some few gatekeeping things. Is that the word? Basically, I think this segment will be stay for members only. We'll still have to think about the way we exactly do this. But at the very least, members are the first ones who get to see. And I'll try to every day try to come up with some unique aspect and probably even connecting it to objectivism. Because again, we talked about clavicular and we found that the fundamental thing is the intrinsicism, subjectivism dichotomy, or the mind-body dichotomy as well in some instances. So,
Cringinsicism.
or that. Where can people find you?
I'm Yair Reichel. I'm an associate of the Ayn Rand Center Israel. We do meetups and events and a lot of good things. You can watch our YouTube channel. You can search in English Ayn Rand Center Israel and see our streams and shows. I'm also the leading member of a movement called Victory Now. Our website is www.victory.now. We have released a book called Victory Now, Israel's Plan for Peace, and it shows basically a moral case for Israel, a moral case for the West, and objective reasoning why those Ayatollah regimes and other tyrannical regimes are objectively evil, and a plan based on World War II on how to beat evil. This is very important in today's climate. You need this as a intellectual munition against the defeatist, pacifist, and anti-freedom sentiment that's going on in today's world. I highly recommend this book. I also have a YouTube channel, and you can find it by searching my name, Yair Reichel, on YouTube. So far, not much videos has been uploaded. There's only one video, which is from Ayn Rand Center UK, but I do plan to build this channel and form it some sort of an identity and upload videos to it and build it throughout the way. And I'm open for your comments and suggestions as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for watching.
Thank you, Yair, for joining us. And earlier, thank you, Jonathan and Anders, for joining us as well. We will be back tomorrow with another episode of The Daily Objective. Until then, thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting us, and bye-bye.